what's going on, you guys? It is what it is. It's been a long time removed. We are definitely back. The Fresh Triangle, the Flow Horsemen, whatever you want to call us. The best of the best. We'll take it. It is Quincy Jones, go. Mac Lowe, and of course, Brian Andrew, man. This is the Flow Show. How y'all been, man?
That's been a while.
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm awake.
He's just been putting in that work, fam. Was it? I could be mistaken. Did you have an anniversary? Not too long ago, Brian.
I think that did happen in our hiatus.
So belated with the anniversaries and all that stuff, man.
Yeah, man. 3 ain't enough, man. I need 5. We 5.
We need it all. But some stuff has happened. It's taken place in the wrestling world, and this is where we come in. We give you guys I guess we're the voice of the annoying sometimes, but because sometimes y'all talk a lot and don't know how to pretty much put together a actual smart, intelligent conversation or argument. So that's where we come in, shave off the trimmings and try to get to the nitty gritty. But I guess, you know what? I'll start it off hot. And then we can work to, I know we were talking about the draft before we went on.
Well, getting to your point, I was like, if wrestling was good, I don't think we would have to have a podcast.
If it's universally,
if it was just fine, we would have nothing to talk about.
Imagine a podcast where they're just putting everything over every week.
Yeah,
Does that even happen?
I listened to this podcast called Friends from Work. It's about the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I like that. Yeah.
And because Marvel Cinematic Universe is so good, listening to that pod is like super refreshing because they're like, yeah, this was dope. And did you see how they did this? And this was cool. And I like the way they connected this and this. They're all super hopeful and optimistic about what's coming. I'm like, this is the opposite of the wrestling stuff I listen to.
I was about to say, then here come Mac. We're like, yeah, but you remember this shit and this shit. And then let's not forget, we're not letting Spider-Man 3 off the hook. Like, I mean, like, wrestling is, I think, is weird. Wrestling is like, it's exciting right now. I would even I'll give a pedal, not even a full flower, to Raw a little bit at a time because they've been doing a little bit better.
You can see them waking up.
You can see them starting to. It's weird though. Like I still feel like they're still treating Big E like he's a placeholder still, low key.
Mm-hmm.
Well, another thing with Raw is that there's Monday night and AEW kind of got better in terms of like, what's the.
Did you hear about that, by the way? That I guess Matt, Nick, Cody, Kenny, all of them, creative control yoinked.
Yeah,
it's all going through Tony now.
Crazy.
Yeah, they're not making any booking decisions anymore. They're encouraged to pitch ideas and make suggestions, but it all essentially goes through Tony.
I'm intrigued on how that went down because I'm sure when they made this company, that was not their intention.
Right.
I believe so, but I think at the same time, none of those 4 guys realize how much work they're gonna have to put into simultaneously run a company and simultaneously do the stuff they already do as a pro wrestler, like keeping up eating habits and making sure they're looking good and all this, and then now they got like, oh, I gotta go make this for this mocap, or I gotta go do, what I mean? There's so much stuff that they weren't used to doing before, even though they were in New Japan and still taking over on a global scale. But it's like now that you add like the actual title and then there's salaries involved, and you're like, you gotta earn that money. Yeah, you know what I mean? So
I'm sure maybe when they retire, they'll have like producer roles and creative roles too. Like,
I think that'll be smart. But I mean, it's one of those things where I'm wondering, when did this happen? Because this had to happen. Like for me, I'm like, Tony saw that exploding barbed wire match, was like, never again. No, Kenny, we're not doing what you want to do anymore, Kenny. This is shit. This is all shit. But I don't know. Like I said, wrestling feels good right now. Like the one thing I was telling my buddy the other day, I was like, wrestling is exciting right now and it's a lot of stuff booming. But I think the reason why it feels like this is because it's not WWE. It's not coming from WWE. It's like a whole new playing field. You know what I mean? And yeah, there's a lot of familiar faces, former cast members, whatever you want to call them. But I don't know, man, like, I did go to the New York show, but even take that away, take away the fanfare, like just looking at the landscape, like wrestling is hella popular right now. You know what I mean? And it's not always that way. It goes up and down, but like you got a lot more people, keeping their eyes on some stuff. Some Labs fans are like, what? CM Punk came back? What? Daniel Bryan? No, it's Bryan Danielson. I never knew. Of course you would. You're a WWE mark, it's cool. I've been seeing a lot more healthy conversations happen amongst fans, but not to say that other toxic shit doesn't happen. Like the other day, someone actually was talking about Starks, Ricky Starks, and Ricky Starks was like, something to do with his race. He's like, I'm black, bitch. And that was his response. I was like, why didn't we talk about this when this happened? I was like, this is the perfect tweet to talk about on the show. But I mean, I don't know. Wrestling's cool, but there's still some stuff that, you know, like you said, if it was 100% glowing and perfect, we wouldn't really have a whole lot to,
I feel like the tides are changing. I think things are kind of.
That's literally what it feels like. Yeah.
I think when Big E won on Raw that week, the way they structured that show was they structured it as if we don't want you to change the channel. It wasn't like, we know you're going to watch. You know what I mean? It didn't feel so disrespectful.
No. But you know what? You're right.
You don't have nothing else to watch. Sit your ass down and watch this lame ass show.
But when you think about it, when's the last time they pulled something like that where it was a championship and to start the night off, and then they're like, no, we're going to run it back and throw a cage at the end. Like, they used to do stuff like that.
Yeah,
which made it exciting. You know, they wouldn't even advertise it. You'd show up to the arena, you're like, why is there a cage on? What's going on? Right. So that stuff I do miss. So that was one of those inconsistent hits that they actually landed.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm hoping it becomes a trend and not an anomaly.
Yeah,
the steel cage was there for like Ricochet versus Jeff Hardy on main event, but then they're like, whoa, it's here. Why don't we just use it?
Wait, you know what? Wait, hold on, wait. Tell those guys not to go home. We'll pay them extra to lower it down. Yeah, let's go.
If Vince shows up, like, wait, we're doing this today on main event. Like,
but you know what? Here goes another rose petal. I will give Raw. Somebody came to their senses and they brought back the Hurt Business. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
I'll give them that.
Yep.
I mean, I don't like the way it happened because they're just like, yeah, we got the same old t-shirts on. Yeah. We just put like who's to stop like someone like that's like when Hornswoggle just put a DX shirt on. He's like, oh, he's just part of DX now. You know what I mean?
Nah, you know what happened?
Like that, but it was just weird. I was like, I feel like, especially with Cedric still had the thing on his head. I'm like, he must have been a caterer. Like, hey, you now, we need you now. He's like,
no, this is what happened.
Cedric and Hornswoggle. I was gonna say Cedric and Hornswoggle are both cruiserweight champions, so you know.
That's true. Hey, you know what?
They were doing laundry. They was at the laundromat, and Cedric was getting his clothes together, and then Shelton was getting his clothes together, and they both pulled out the Hurt Business shirt at the same time. And they just looked up at each other from across the laundromat.
They're like, "You doing whites? Nah, I'm doing colors." Yeah, I think it's that time. Which is funny because it's like. It even more so, I'm like, I feel like they were just waiting and catering, told them to, hey, we got y'all on deck. We're like, hold on, we need Hurt Business shirts. They were like, well, I didn't bring mine. No, yours. We don't need you. We don't need the gold standard ones. We see the regular ones. Grab them from the merch table. And it's like, but you know what? A lot of people were like,
where are they? They're on the clearance rack.
They're like, wait a minute, there's still a Hurt Business. Get them right now for 40% off right now. But like the funny thing is I saw somebody send a tweet to MVP. They're like, all right, bro, but I'm gonna really need you to show up on Raw next week being pushed around by a baddie in a wheelchair. And I was dying because I thought that'd be hilarious. But then MVP said, nah, the Miz already did that. And I was like, yo, he just flamed John Morrison. I was like, oh, that was awesome. The internet's a great place.
But the only thing I have an issue with is not only did like Bobby Lashley like beat the shit out of him multiple times. Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander also had a feud at one point. So
I was thinking the same thing.
I was like, there should have been something going on in the background where like sorry, my dog
Lucy. That's good.
Where like even if it's like catering or something like that. And Bobby Lashley goes up to Shelton Benjamin by himself, and then goes up to Cedric Alexander, and you don't have to hear him talk or something. I don't know.
You're planting the seeds, it builds the excitement. Because nobody like when it showed who was it? Was it Big E was on the outside? Then he just saw like a shirt come into view. I'm like, what the fuck was that? And I'm like, so they were walking down the whole time, but you guys didn't even draw attention to it. I was like, all right. I mean, but that's me picking at it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because
I'm happy it happened. Yeah, but I feel you because I feel like even if they did something low key where they showed and they do this before, MVP tweet something out and they got to show the tweet on the screen, right? Maybe he would have said something like, you know, something about Matt, I can't be there. with the Almighty in his championship match, but please believe I got an insurance policy for you, something like that, right?
Yeah, if he would have just been like, I'm not there, but my presence will be felt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, something, because it's like when you think about it realistically, I think MVP would have to be the guy, the broker between that for that to happen.
And then then they can allude to the tweet and be like, MVP probably hooked it back up. Or they could have showed Shelton and Cedric chasing Reggie. And then when the fight breaks out and the two of them actually they bump into each other and they decide not to hit each other and then they became friends again.
That's it. and now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, then they got a whole like 3-way call between MVP and Sheldon and Cedric. He's like, by the way, gentlemen, check your front door. I left the present. It's like a neatly boxed and it's all wrapped and it's just a Hurt Business shirt.
They could have also
from yours truly.
I'm sure they maybe Goldberg's the only one that gets the satellite treatment, but maybe they would have to do like a Zoom thing with MVP.
I mean, he keeps threatening to kill people, so yeah, I want to keep him far away from, because who else getting away with that, bro?
It's weird. I feel bad for Goldberg because I just feel like every time he gets on TV, he does something either extremely awkward, like having the forearm picture with the baby, or he's saying something extremely like not WWE,
or like over the top, right? Yeah,
and it's just like, or he's just dropping people on their heads. It's like, dude, you just haven't done anything right in probably
a long time, like
some would say that he's never done it right. You know what I mean? Some say that he's been coasting by and that he's been mistrained his whole life. I mean, my thing is, don't tell people you finna kill him when you almost died off a hamstring pull. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, you can't say that.
like we have sponsors. We can't kill people. Like,
remember Bobby Lashley should get his lawyers.
Bro,
back in the day of cartoons, they would never use the word kill. It was always destroy, right? Like
destroy, and then like
destroy you, Spider-Man.
The X on the eyes.
Yeah, so WWE's kind of always kept that rule. I've never heard them say kill. I'm going to end you.
They won't say it, but they'll kill someone on TV though.
Right.
Yeah,
like I'm gonna murder you and your family in your sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I'm a smother you when you having a deep nightmare. Like, whoa. This is getting a little bit like Dexter now.
Goldberg, you gotta relax.
You gotta chill, man. Goldberg over here, I'm a sideboard for real. I read
a story somewhere where Goldberg said those exact words to his son's football coach when he was on the tackling.
I heard about that.
Kill you.
I heard about that. Yeah. Remember we was making those jokes about it. Dad, not again. Go to the parking lot like we talked about. Save space. Save space.
He wiping the blood off his forehead.
Where did that even come from? I'm lost, son. I need to gig myself one day. I need to tackle a tackling dumb in another. I don't know. I'm a wrestler, but I'm not. I don't know how to live a normal life. Like, it's just, I don't want to sit on the sidelines and not deliver a spear. This is just so much. I don't know. It's weird. Like, I mean, they got the crown jewel thing coming in. Was it a couple weeks? It's on Thursday or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of that, I was like, I guess we should do predictions. Watching WWE pay-per-views without our predictions is so hard to watch.
So I just
football games without fantasy football.
Dude, yeah, it is.
You're like, I guess I'll just watch it because it's on. Like, for me, bro, like, no lie, did not even watch the full pay-per-view. Literally just turned it on specifically to see the Bianca match finish. I didn't even watch. I watched the last 5 minutes because I just wanted to see how it was going to go. And they had a good match. That's why I was kind of mad. I was like, oh, Sasha had to come back somehow, but they had a pretty good match. But then I'm watching that main event, and the only reason I even watched it is because I saw so many people talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about the ending, like, and not even like actually describing it, just their reaction. Like, I saw like Sean Ross Sapp go, what? And I'm like, okay, something happened. Everyone's like, what was that? How do you even, they better give us an explanation on Smack. I'm like, okay, I need to figure out what the hell happened.
Which is classic WWE, is you're already doing something that's kind of shit, which is the music and him like breathing back to life. And then
I like the music. I did not like the Omarion.
Heart box for my I got a demon where my heart used to be. Yeah, my bro, like, seriously though, like, it's crazy because one of the episodes I did with Mac, I did like a little rant about I like the Demon, but not when he's on the main roster, and this is why, and yada yada yada. And then I watch the shit. I'm like, they just killed the character. Like, I mean, like, he's so bad, but all it takes is a bad set of ring ropes, and he's having a bad day. But did you see that footage, by the way? There's footage. Actually, no, I didn't get to send it to y'all. There's a secondary cameraman that shouldn't be where he's at because he's next to another cameraman who's already in that spot. And he's actually at the corner, and you see him acting like he's holding the camera with the light still red, and you see him pull something out of his pocket, and like everyone's thinking it's a knife, and he's the one that cut the rope, and then just hops off the ring. But I'm like, was that a worker, or was that part of the storyline? Was he just tasked to do that? Like, where are we going from this? Because you didn't give us nothing yesterday.
No, they're gonna come out later and say it was Naomi.
Man, dude, come on.
There's a lot of people mad about that Naomi stuff. I enjoyed her standing up for herself, but now I've been getting, and I know you follow some of these accounts as well. I mean, it is what it is. We're minorities that are reporting on this industry. So there's a lot of like other, like, you know, Black Announce Team, Black Wrestling Podcast, a lot of different people. There's one account, I won't put her on blast because she is not the type to want to have an intelligent conversation. She wants to say what she wants to say. And then if I asked her, well, what about this and this? Her response was, no disrespect, I said what I said. And I was like, okay, never mind then. I just won't even engage. You know what I'm saying? But she was talking about like, oh, here we go again with the mad Black woman story. And I'm like, with who, Naomi? I'm like, bro, like they've been doing that with Bianca forever, but what, is it different? Like, I don't understand. Like, but people are really like, oh, this is all they do with us. They always make us be like these stereotypes. I'm like, okay, but if take anybody, any race in that situation that Naomi's in, she ain't gonna get mad. She ain't gonna like want to stand up for herself and be like, yo, this is where I belong. So I don't know. It was just like some people.
I think if it was a situation where, as a character, she's angry or upset or triggered all the time without reason, then I think you can say like, oh, she's playing into a stereotype. But this is a situation where she has a legitimate reason to be upset, and being upset. This is a show essentially about fighting, and so 9 times out of 10, you kind of have to have an attitude if you're gonna fight.
I mean,
we're just like, we're just casually doing this with a handshake.
So I don't see it as offensive. I actually like the fact that they actually got her doing something instead of just a dance break in the middle of the show for a 3-minute match with Liv Morgan.
But I mean, see, like the funny thing is too, though, it's like, yeah, we're hey, I don't really have any animosity towards you, but I gotta beat you tonight. Like that, no, that
doesn't work.
The only person that's happy fighting is like what, Minoru Suzuki and I guess Happy Corbin or whatever. I mean, who is happy to, like, you know what I mean? Saying like, you got to be in a state of mind to want to just beat some niggas up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like who happily was like just kicking a rock one day and just going on and just like, pow, like boom, like no, like it's like I feel it's like it's a combat environment. So it's like it is what it is. That's like if Goldberg was like, Bobby, I don't like what you did to my son, but I got to teach you a lesson. I'm not gonna kill you, but I'm gonna beat you. Like it's like that's.
And hopefully,
I hope that we could have a good time in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and looking forward to having a match. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to shaking your hand and hopefully not dropping you on your head. But like, yeah, oh, I appreciate you listening to my satellite call, Mr. Lashley. And I'm happy you got your friends back.
I'm happy you got your friend. Which so are we already predicting that they're gonna get involved?
I think they will, and Goldberg will fight him off or something. And maybe that's how Bobby Lashley wins, because like everyone's saying Goldberg's gonna get his win because the title's not on the line. But like, what favorite? Like, what? Who? Yeah, like for the Saudi like crowd, like, or the Prince, like I feel like this podcast is gonna get flagged for how many times I've used Saudi Arabia on this podcast.
It's gonna be like, hold on, what kind of
what the hell are they talking about?
It is like weird. It's like this propaganda.
2 more keywords and we're in trouble here.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like what's all this? No one watches wrestling. They're like, what are all these code words?
Where are these?
What's a Goldberg?
Kayfabe. I think kayfabe means war. Kayfabe means war. Like it's I don't like it's I personally am finished with Goldberg and Lashley. I didn't like it to begin with. So the fact that we had to do something to plant more seeds for this match, I get they have to have the star-studded lineup. That's what the whole Saudi Arabia shows. That's what they do, right? But why couldn't Lashley just beat Goldberg? Like, instead of them stopping a match? Like, I don't understand. Like,
it would have been a lot better too if you beat him and then his son ran in.
Yeah,
and then he beat him up, and then Goldberg, who can barely get up, watching it.
Let me give you a better scenario than what happened. Bobby Lashley, he admittedly already trains in MMA. You got a guy like Goldberg who did, but I don't know if he's no longer keeping up with that type of training.
Nah, he still kickboxes a little bit.
But he could have choked him out. Yeah, he could have put a leg lock on him.
Yeah, something.
You know what I'm saying, to tap him out, and then that way it's not like, oh, I didn't beat me, the match beat me. It's like I hate all that open-ended stuff.
But you know what messed up to me? They just had a situation where Big E and Bobby were bumping heads, and then the New Day came out and the Hurt Business came out, and now you got a perfect situation for a 3-on-3 with a former champion and the current champion. It seems like they want to ease Big E along. They want to throw him right out there right away. So this is a good first feud with the homies, but I'm still the champ against the old champ. Little gang warfare, right? And then they drafted the New Day to SmackDown.
Bro, so when I saw that
back with Goldberg.
When I saw that, I was like, why? They weren't the only one, but like, look, they jump started like two things that could possibly happen on Raw, and then they ruined it. Like they had Drew McIntyre looking like he was going to challenge Big E, and then now he's not because he's on SmackDown. And
I gotta give the WWE some balls for not being like, hey, we want Drew McIntyre on SmackDown, but we set some shit up on Raw. Should we affect the whole year based on something we just set up for 5 seconds on Raw? Yeah. So I give him credit for having the balls to be like, hey, we're just gonna backtrack on that bullshit.
Well, I don't know if it's balls more so than it's just behavior we're used to, but this is the one time that it didn't backfire on him, right?
Yeah, it's really.
It's just, I don't know, it's so weird because like I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh, because I remember we fantasy booked like, man, I don't know why they had to break up Hurt Business, but we were thinking like New Day with Big E versus possibly the Bloodline, or Bloodline versus all this stuff, and then it's like,
and now we get none of those.
yeah, we're like, oh, looks like we're finally gonna, and it's like, nah, fam, we don't have any interest. It's like, oh, but you just happen to have 3 teams of 3 that are all dope, and it's like you guys are just
and none of them will fight.
See,
but and this is why there shouldn't be a brand split either, because imagine.
Well, see, okay, I was like, why are we even doing a draft when there's not an actual, like, they're not 2 separate general managers? It's like they both are on both shows, so that's why I was like, this is kind of weird.
And I don't like that they try to make it about the networks, like, oh, USA knows where the money is at. Fox
knows the money's in the Queen. It's like,
I'm watching wrestling, dude. I don't care about like corporate America, like like network TV politics.
I don't give a shit about NBC Universal. All right,
Peacock shelled out them ducats. They really like, because even like Becky, she was like someone was like, oh man, y'all can say what you want, but Bianca got drafted to Raw over Becky and Sasha. I'm like, that's a way of looking at it. And then of course Becky, she retweets, she's like, yeah, I actually let them. I gave them up until Monday to for me to be available because I wanted to give them more time to get their money up. And I was like, okay, when you do it like that, that's cool. But when you're like, oh, Fox has been having their eye on, no, y'all haven't been having an eye on nobody.
I'm gonna Fox robot, like,
because y'all were like
dancing.
Because Fox was like, you know who we need to keep on the show? Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss. What kind of fucking name is that?
So first of all
cap.
I'm gonna be kind of stealing this from Wrestle Talk, because I watched the review this morning. The draft doesn't make sense. No. so they're splitting it where some people could be drafted on SmackDown and some people could be drafted on Raw, right? It's split, but they didn't tell us who's on which side. And then they also apparently, I think, mentioned that like if you don't get drafted, you get to pick which brand you're going to be on. So later in the show, Brock Lesnar says, hey, well, thanks to Paul Heyman, I didn't get drafted today, so I could pick wherever I want to go, right? But then it goes to Roman Reigns saying, well, shit, Usos didn't get drafted to SmackDown. You need to go on Raw to make sure the Usos get drafted to SmackDown. But I'm like,
Right.
were the Usos part of this Friday selection? Because if not, they could pick wherever the fuck they want to go now.
I was thinking, it was weird. They had 3 different dates. They had 3 different dates, right? They said this is the first night, the second night's on Monday, but then they said something about that Friday after. Like, I don't know if they're saying that the picks don't take effect until then, or what, or maybe that's, I don't know. It was weird because I was like, what's his name? Pat McAfee was saying a lot. It was like today, Monday, and then he said something about the Friday after. So I didn't know about that, but I was thinking, I'm like, why wouldn't you just draft the whole bloodline as one in the first pick? Like that makes no sense. I mean, because that way you're getting not just Roman, but you're getting Roman.
That's why Roman was mad.
Because I think maybe
he's like we supposed to be the ones, not just me.
And I feel like
the WWE ones, not just one.
It's on the shirt. Oh,
and I think the WWE overthinks it because they want like their champions to be profile. Like the number 1 pick should be one guy who's good, right? But I think it would have made a lot of sense if you didn't want to do it, even though we would have picked at it still. I'm not gonna lie to you, but they should just make it where like you can't pick an entire tag team. Like you have to pick them individually. So like it gets to the point where like hopefully the other brand doesn't get the other person, because my point was like I think they want like their champions like by themselves to be picked. So because that's the WWE overthinking it. But in our case, like just it makes more sense because we're not fucking idiots to just pick the whole faction.
I was thinking because they had a bunch of stuff on Twitter like, oh, who would you pick for your first 5? And I was like, I was going like Roman and then Uso. I'm like, no, I'll just pick them all in one, and then I'll probably pick some other. I was like, all the champions that I'd want, and then like some people that we couldn't deal without, right? And then I was like, why did they do that separate? And then I know I said it before, but it's like, along the same lines of the draft not really meaning anything anymore. The women's tag team champions. Why even draft them? They're not a show exclusive champion. But once they lose those championships, then they're stuck on that show, right?
I didn't think about that.
You know what I'm saying?
You're stuck with Nikki Ash now. You happy?
Yeah, like it was like no, like it'd be different if they were a tag team without the belts, right? And I'd get that, but they're non-show exclusive. They can go on either show.
Already. So they really just wanted Rhea Ripley, but they were like, well, we got to take Nikki Ash too.
See, okay, let me ask that though. What if they would have wanted, like, back to Brian's point, if maybe tag team by one, what if you only pick one and they're champions? They got to split up the champions? They got to...
No, because those belts could travel. This will be more interesting because look.
Oh, shit, right. One-on-one
champs main event. On opposite shows.
You got main event Jey Uso.
On all the shows. They don't have to be...
That's true.
On the same show if they're champs. And if they lose, then they just stay where they're at.
So for the Usos to stay together, they have to keep winning.
Yeah.
Or for
like
they'd
have to continue retaining the championships.
And so there's a lot of pressure going into every single Usos tag match.
If they lose, they can never get it back because they're on opposite shows.
By the way, I didn't. Why move the Mysterios to Raw again? Like they were like, oh, that's a huge loss for SmackDown.
I would have split them up. I would have split them up too. And then, I mean, they've already been teasing this stuff with Sami Zayn, and, like Dominic. But like also like getting to my thing too, which like if they were like trying to do it separately, it would have also made a lot of sense and it would be kind of interesting if they were like, all right, SmackDown picked Roman Reigns, and then it goes Raw picks Big E, right? And then you just go next pick, SmackDown chooses the Usos, and Raw picks the New Day. Like it doesn't make sense because you do that all in one pick.
The Usos I did read, they're not available till Monday, so that's probably why they.
So why was Roman Reigns fucking upset?
It's weird though, but
just be patient.
But let me ask this though. It's like, why would Roman be available that first night and the Usos not? Like it's not like the Usos are more exclusive than Roman, right?
Yeah, there's any way you look at it, you'll find a reason why it doesn't exist.
I guess just on a
Zack
basis.
Snyder's writing this shit, dude.
Dude, like, but all I'm saying is like on a complete basis, no gimmicks. You would think that there's going to be a 3-night draft, and it starts with one show, that those shows' champions would all be eligible for that first night, at least the champions, right?
To be honest,
I would think like
it's kind of bullshit because it should work like it should work like the best people get picked first. So SmackDown should get all the best. SmackDown, the night one of the draft on SmackDown should be like all the best people being picked, and then the second tier kind of goes on Raw. But I know they're like, well, USA doesn't want the second tier to draft. In my opinion, it's still interesting.
Yeah, they're like, we don't want to feel like we're second best. Yeah, they're I don't know. USA and Fox has been kind of going back and forth too. That's been kind of funny.
And the thing is, if you really want to do it a specific way, SmackDown could get all the single male wrestlers, and could do the women's division and tag division in 2 separate drafts on Raw the next
yeah, it's wasted to spread the logo.
I'm not against that.
Overthinking it.
Yeah,
I'm not against that at all. And it's like the only
I think they look at professional sports, because if you watch the ratings for like the first round of the NFL draft, first couple of rounds, first 3-4 rounds where running backs and wide receivers and quarterbacks are going, and then corners.
No, you're right.
DBs. And then when it gets to like the O-line, and nobody's watching anymore. So I think they think that that's the same thing that's going to happen. But here's the thing: y'all are not sports. Like, this is not that. Like,
well, even then, it's
like a good TV show.
Like top to bottom,
why they always play that game.
Like top to bottom, they have people that are fans of different people in different tiers that want to see what they're going to be doing, what their next move is, and stuff like that. Regardless if they're investing in them right now, there's fans that are invested in them. And so I feel you. It's like, I don't know. Like, I get it. Fox, they're kind of the home of like football, you know what I mean? So they're trying to kind of make it a little bit realistic, but it's like, bro, just do what y'all used to do. I mean, have like me personally, I always missed everybody in the same locker room, watching the shit at the same time, and everyone getting that live reaction around everybody, right? I always thought that was funny. Like, I thought that was like when Taker got mad and just threw it through the chair, it was just like,
what? And that is a perfect, because they're saying this is the beginning of the season. So next week,
this is where change happens. This is change is happening
now.
Everybody
backstage. You got all of these feuds that are already currently rolling, but you got people backstage who can't be next to each other because they're feuding. So you can show that beef happening backstage. You can show the feud happening backstage. And then when people get drafted to the same show and they used to have beef, you can see that all playing up. So you can lead into new stuff.
And the draft thing,
it works better.
And the thing is, like, to Max's point that he made earlier, is like, this is all predetermined. So like when we're watching the draft and watching how it works, our thought process is like, well, so this is what you fucking thought of? Like, because we all know that this is a planned thing. It's not like someone's on one side just picking people by random.
But see, I wonder how much of these guys know, because I did hear back in the day that a lot of them wouldn't know until it was announced.
I heard today that a lot of them didn't know to the last minute, and they're all kept in the dark.
Yeah. Which is so weird. You're like, yo, this is a predetermined show.
Which is like, you know,
situation
hey, next week you might have to go to fucking Texas instead of Missouri or something like that. You would like to have like a week to think about that, right? But like, yeah, there's got to be a better way of like formatting it. And to be honest, like if it's gonna be, and then I can see Fox being upset at this too, is like, this should just be like a Peacock special. Like, this should be a pay-per-view.
Say that too.
You know what I mean? And then like the draft is happening, and then you don't have any like matches announced, but like it's kind of like, hey, this is the last day, feuds kind of in too. So like, let's just say Bobby Lashley goes to SmackDown and Big E goes to Raw. Like, well, like, hey, we're gonna have one final WWE match on this draft special. And that's like, because that happened early in the night, right? So we could plan for that to be the main event later, like stuff like that. But I think Fox would be upset that Peacock gets the draft, but like it's kind of frustrating that like they're trying to make like both networks happy with this draft thing, and it ends up kind of making us look like we're the ones that are fucking stupid. And
well, you know, but it's funny because like they probably are like, well, we have a list of favorites, but it's like they probably aren't paying attention to what they're doing. Where it's like, hey, I know they're in the middle of doing on a chase for the title, but can we just get them on this show? Like it's you know what I mean? Like, can we just disrupt all the planning you guys have for the next couple of months and just totally just get them? We just need them on our show. And it's like, I never understood the reasoning for like why pick someone else's champion on your show? Like the whole like Charlotte Flair thing. I was like, her by herself, yeah, it's a great get, but I'm like, but she's a champion. So like what?
So now Raw doesn't have one.
yeah, but I hate that when they do that, because now they got to do like probably something stupid at Survivor Series to get both titles off whoever they're gonna get them off of. It's like no.
And that makes it predictable.
I'm tired of it. I don't want to see it.
Because now I'm watching it knowing that has to be corrected. And so instead of just watching Charlotte's next match and, deciding if it's a good one or not based off of the work, I'm going to be thinking the whole time, how they going to get the title off for her? You know what I mean? Like,
because you're wearing red in the blue zone. Like it's got to leave.
Well, they got to get rid of that shit too.
Unless they're gonna make it turn it blue and make it like the women's version of the Universal title, like they did last time, right?
In my opinion, both titles should be one color.
Trash.
And if you're gonna try to do a color, just do the little stripe underneath the WWE. Don't even do the whole background. Just do.
I don't like the back plate being colored. It looks too much like a toy.
I just don't. I don't like the front plate at all. Like, hey, it's the company logo and that's it. It's like, dude, you guys have had so many prestigious belts before this. I mean, the Undisputed title was dope. That was like a new take on everything. Obviously, the Winged Eagle belt that's fucking classic.
Yeah.
The big gold belt that Stone Cold Rock era, like, bro, and then you go to this trapezoid looking thing.
I think what throws it off, like you said, the color part of it, that back plate with just like the W all diamond out is cool, but the back plate needs to be metal.
But technically there is no back plate. It's just the logo and then it's the belt. Yeah, it's just the belt. Like it's just it's so weird, dude.
It's kind of unique when we first saw it, because keep in mind, I think like beforehand we had the spinner belt. So I think I was very like, I'm cool with this. I'm cool.
Yeah, that's true.
But we've had this, I think, for at least 7, 8, maybe 8 to 9 years now, right?
I'm wondering, because The Rock was the first one to get it, right?
Yeah, so he beat CM Punk,
but he still had the scratch logo, not the new pointed logo. So but even then, that was like the first start of like the new. I mean, it had to be back when CM Punk was still wrestling. So I mean, that's.
I don't like the color straps either, if I'm being honest.
Which one?
Yeah,
I like it. Like the IC title being white is cool. And
that's the only one.
WWE title being black is cool, but I don't like it when it's blue. Like I don't like the tag belts at all. The tag belts are trash.
I mean, or what I don't like is, oh man, they're dripping gold. Where's the gold? Because there's no gold. There's no. It's just the world. It's the Universal title, and then these silver ass squish pennies from Knott's Berry Farm,
dripping leather.
What? Look, dripping leather. Say that. You know what I mean? 2013 is when The Rock got it.
So it's been about 8 years since we've had this design somewhat, so like I feel like it's time, like, and
especially when every other belt they've revealed after this is just the same belt but either smaller for the women or different color. You know what I mean? Like,
in my opinion too, like they should just unify all the titles and make all the champions floating. If you want to have brand exclusive people, then just have all the champions float.
I think that'll be honestly just in the realm of having way more competitive matchups. That'd be great, especially for the women's division, for me personally.
Or if you want, or have championships that are very distinct to your brand, like like the trios champions are on like Raw, and then like the tag champions are on SmackDown. So you have all the entire legit tag divisions on one, and then you have,
and that'll give the show a better identity too. Because if you have 5 or 6 teams that are threes, and you enjoy threes matches, then you gotta watch Raw for that. I
was just gonna say, and then in turn you're gonna be watching different shows specifically for certain things.
And so it won't get so stale.
Yeah, as opposed to like having to sift through everything like we do, well, mostly on Raw. SmackDown's very, they're pretty good.
I've always thought too, like they don't want to bring back the hardcore title, but they also have this attachment to ECW, which is like they could come out with a title called like the Extreme, like I don't know, the Extreme Championship or something like that. Or I don't want to say Extreme Rules Championship. That sounds stupid. And when I say it out loud, Extreme Championship sounds stupid too.
Well, to be honest, though, like
Jeff Hardy, yes.
But if they did have a title specifically for that, they don't have to put that stupid pay-per-view on anymore. Which that's good to me, because you saw how like you were talking about on Twitter. Like I'm like, dude, they didn't even finish this card before putting it on, and then on top of that, you're like, there's only like one match with an Extreme Rules. You know what I'm saying? Stipulation at all, like
basic rules.
I see you seen that too, right? Regular rules. rules. Just regular
like,
rules taken to the extreme. Like, nah, dude. This is
I feel like if you had, so you would have women's champions on both, and you'd probably have, I guess, world titles on both brands, right? But if you made the middle where one had trios, one had tag, and maybe one had like the extreme championship and the other one had the workhorse championship, like the intercontinental, right? And then when the draft happens, you could kind of switch some of these things around, right? But like, it's just like the whole thing is just kind of like, because okay, so I don't know if you guys like are, I don't know if you guys know how soccer works, but like the way it's set up now with USA and Fox or whatever and no general managers, it would make more sense to do it like the soccer way, which is the transfer portal, which is you buy players from another team or you trade players from another team, and then every few years you could bring back the draft, because it will be more meaningful after a couple of years of not doing it than doing it every October and still doing it very half-assed.
Well, and then don't they sometimes they kind of sneak in another one? They call it what, the superstar shakeup.
Yeah.
Sometimes, right? Yeah. So it's like, why have two? Just do the one if they're gonna do the one. But like, yeah, I wouldn't mind if they weaned off of it every year. If they just, because sometimes a person, like, they can't give everyone a good year, right? Even the 6 months that they give them with the other one before it pops up. But even like if they just did the one, like, not everyone's gonna get a good year where you're like, okay, maybe I should stay, or maybe, like, you're not gonna get excited for them to switch, because if you didn't see him get invested with at all, then it's like, well, shit,
So,
I kind of want to see him stay and do this.
But the thing is, they do the draft, and so now it's a big deal right now. And then for maybe 3 weeks, we'll hear things like free agent and big signings and trades, probably till about Christmas. And then, and then we'll have Survivor Series where it's like, oh, this team. And then after that, there's no talk about people
brand
being
exclusive, right?
Brand exclusive or it being a thing at all. So it doesn't really matter after this. And so if they did have a situation where people were constantly getting traded, transactions were constantly happening, then maybe it would, the draft leading up to it would be like, oh shit,
bro, like
because it's not a thing for the rest of the year, it really doesn't matter,
bro. Like, off top, that opens up a lot of different possibilities for different characters too. Say someone like MVP could bring Naomi over because he personally paid for it. You know what I'm saying? Or someone that he may think is maybe he wants to bring someone like, and not just MVP, but I'm thinking just him because of his character.
Anybody that's kind of like an agent or a manager with,
you know what I'm saying?
Their character would immediately get a boost.
They could negotiate or use that as a bargaining chip or whatever. But I did like the idea. I mean, I guess one of the more higher profile picks was Edge going to Raw. I thought that was pretty good. Only because I'm tired of, it's just him and Seth, him and Roman, and I mean, Daniel Bryan's gone, or Bryan Danielson, but him versus Bobby Lashley, him versus I was thinking him versus Drew, but Drew got drafted over. But I was thinking for sure him versus AJ Styles would be good.
Hey, Drew gotta put that sword away.
We gotta figure it out.
And Michael Cole over here like Drew and Angela, and in my head I'm like, who the fuck is Angela? Ain't that Kayla? Oh, that's the name of the damn sword. I'm like,
don't name the damn sword.
Ain't nobody care.
Nobody care about your sword.
I'm like,
bro.
You name it after the lamest character from The Office. Like, all right, cool.
It should only come out for his entrance. It shouldn't even be involved in any other thing.
Why do you have it? Because you're not gonna use it ever, unless you're Goldberg and you want to kill somebody.
And this may be my perfect segue, but if he can have a sword, I think that's fine as long as we're able to allow Arn to have a Glock, since that's what he's on right now. I was like,
don't bring Angelo to an Arn fight, or
dude. It's like when I remember when I watched the promo, I was like, oh, that
should be the title of the episode.
He went there.
Don't bring Angelo to an Arn fight,
man. But you know what? Before because I knew we were gonna have to get to AEW. But before we get there, I just wanted to say, I honestly think that we only need one women's champion. I don't think we need two different women's champions, because
just not enough women.
So there's enough women for one, and then still have split the roster for the tag. You know what I mean? Division. Which I think, again, because if we're gonna do the whole thing of champion get the float. You know, like I said, it just the only thing with that is it's like where does Charlotte go? Like, okay, yeah, she got picked by SmackDown. So if she loses the title, then she's SmackDown exclusive. But say like if champions weren't picked or aren't eligible because they're on both shows anyways, what if they lose? Like, well, what show? I mean, would that mean like if they lose, like any show would be able to try to buy their contract, or I guess
Charlotte on 205 Live.
Man, you're like, we got rid of all the cruiserweights, we got bread now.
Well, I was gonna say Nick Khan gutted.
We sold the set.
Nick Khan gutted the roster. You could probably go without the brand split, and then like kind of have like a behind the scenes idea of like, you know what, hey, we're only going to feature this person on SmackDown, this person's only going to feature on Raw, but you don't have to have it exclusively on a contract for us to know, because then we're going to start seeing the plot holes, you know. But like,
and that's when we start ruining things.
Like it's like, hey, we're getting rid of the brand split, everybody's on every show, the networks are both happy because they both get Roman, they both get this, but it's like low key Carmella's only on SmackDown, and we just notice a trend more so than like knowing that she's
right.
You're like consistently he ain't never on the red brand.
Because like if they're gonna keep it up this way, like I was going back to my point, is like Roman Reigns' segment would have made a lot more sense if it's like, hey, USA bought the Usos. Hey, Paul Heyman, you need to go fucking figure this out and get them back with me. You know what I mean? It's not.
Well, which can you imagine if how we got him back was brokering that deal for Brock?
So, yeah, you know,
which adds more like fuel to the fire already. It's like, so y'all friends, huh? Like,
right. It's like, and then like Uso, and then one of the Usos going up to like Paul Heyman and saying like, hey, you know, like, because like it's Fox and USA distributing the money and the stuff like that. It's the managers of these factions and stuff like that are trying to work shit out. And it's like, hey, you know, like Uso's like, yo, Paul, can you do me another favor? And it's to get like Naomi back with him or something like that. You know, it's all these like little things. So you've seen like all these the backstage stuff during like what would be like the transfer portal, which is like 2 to 3 weeks. It's a bunch of backstage people trying to negotiate shit, like Bobby calling MVP and saying like, you know, and this would have made a lot more sense if they started this on Monday. It's Bobby saying like, hey, you know what, I've realized maybe the New Day is too much for just me, and since you're out, I need some help. And then you maybe hear MVP on speakerphone saying, hey, I got you. And then you see Cedric and Alexander come out again, you know, and so stuff like that, you know, and it's MVP.
It feels like it feels like we're getting the Justice League every week, and there's like a sniper cut somewhere. But like where all this makes sense.
That's low key. Like one of the points I was gonna make is like they don't need to have this brand split just for the sake. And have 2 different champions on each show just for the sake of having a Survivor Series, you know, build. You know, it's just color by numbers. We just put people against each, because that's not what the pay-per-view was at all when it first started. I mean,
it should be
Survivor
about
Series.
It should be about
it's the Survivor Series match, the 5-on-5. Keep it traditional. We don't even get that anymore. You know what I mean? We kind of do, but they've really ruined it the last couple of years. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then it's like, yeah, it's cool to see this person versus this person, but I'm like, y'all could book that anytime. Really, it doesn't have to be Survivor Series exclusive, because if so, then y'all would call it Brand Warfare instead of Survivor Series. You know what I'm saying? Like, or bragging rights. That's actually the one that you guys used to do. You know, where it was bragging rights in the actual logo font, and it was just like, oh, who's gonna take home the bragging rights for their show? But it's like
this year, Survivor Series would be, if they paid attention to what they had, it would actually be cool, because you do have like 4 or 5, maybe even like 6, 3-man teams across all the brands.
No lie, I was really hoping for like that New Day bloodline or something, but I was like, I don't know how that's gonna go. You know what I mean? And that's the thing too. It's like there's still the rumors about The Rock and all that for Survivor Series. So it's like you guys really should change the format, seeing as when he debuted, it was not about that. He was the sole survivor in the Survivor Series match.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I remember that to this day, because I was like, oh, he's using just a shoulder breaker. Oh, he's doing it more than once. Oh,
and he did a crossbody.
Crossbody, yeah. The flex, the Flex Cabana
crossbody. Like the wrong camera.
And I think like the WWE to an extent at this point, like we've probably been saying this for years, but it's like we're not asking you to like listen to the fans and book all your shit based on what we're saying, but we're basically saying like, hey, you know what? We're now getting to the point where there's a better wrestling product out. There's Monday Night Football. I don't need to watch this shit. And on top of that, I go home from work and I don't want to watch your show. So like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like getting to the point where
I
it's
used
like,
to be
hey,
excited to get home, but now it's like, oh yeah, that's on.
like give us an inch. You know what I mean? Like
give us something to get invested in. Like, you know,
like we if we've been telling you for the last 8 years that Survivor Series sucks. Like you put on, there's I'll admit there's occasional good matches like Daniel Bryan versus Brock and stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that is exciting. The exhibitions, yeah, those are great.
So some of them are good, but like you could still do it where it's like feuds happen on Survivor Series, but like maybe that is the one pay-per-view a year where we lift the brand restrictions, but it doesn't mean that SmackDown versus Raw. It just means that like, hey, we're gonna revisit this feud that never ended because of the draft just happened a month ago. So it's like we're gonna knock this shit out like Seth versus Edge one last time at Survivor Series. You know,
they could even have people call their shot. If say there is someone that they've had their eye on in the other show, they don't necessarily have to be champions. You know what I mean? Like,
and it would work too because the Survivor Series has this idea of like being a survivor and stuff like that. So being like the last person in an elimination match. You know, King of the Ring has had ties to Survivor Series in the past.
Yeah.
So you could have like the King of the Ring going through October, and Queen of the Ring going through October, and then the finals are on. So that's 2 matches on Survivor Series plus a couple elimination matches plus your title matches.
Oh, that's what they said. That's okay. So the King of the Ring and the Queen of the Ring, they both kick off. That's what he was saying. The Friday after
Queen's Crown, guys.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We can't say
I refuse to call
Queen
it that.
of the Ring.
I refuse to
because the prince is gonna be like, excuse me. I already have a mom. She's already the queen.
Hey, yo, this is definitely getting flagged. We've said queen, king, gun, sword, Saudi Arabia.
See, the key word though, context. Yeah. Context is what's gonna save us. But I do want to shout out Hit Row. Besides Austin Theory, the only other, as far as I saw, the only NXT act I got
that was it.
Brought up, which again, that was weird. I'm like, y'all doing something on NXT too, so like, why y'all?
You have an opportunity to draft anybody from NXT, and I think Austin Theory's a good wrestler. I'm not gonna say he's not, but you have an opportunity to draft anybody from NXT at this point,
like
anybody from NXT, and you're gonna take the second-hand guy in Johnny Gargano's group. Like what the fuck?
He's the only one that wasn't doing anything.
I will give him I'll give him props because they were putting him over on commentary for someone that no one had seen before, even though he was in the pandemic shortly, and then just left after the reports came out. But
technically, Pete Dunne's still there. Technically, Tommaso Ciampa. Like, wouldn't you want to be like, I'll just take the champion?
Like, I mean, I don't know.
I'm definitely not watching NXT no more. It's already hard.
I have not watched 2.0 at all.
You don't understand.
I've only heard things.
Like, but before I get there, I did want to also shout out. Everyone's been calling it the digital forbidden door. I don't know if you caught that Edge segment where Seth was in his house last night. Did y'all see that? Well, his house. You know, he had said
the same house that Samoa Joe went to.
It was like the same one, the same one for Randy Orton and Triple H.
Why is AJ Styles' family here?
It's just like a studio, like a house they have.
Like Styles on it. Like
walking to AJ Styles' house. He's like,
he's like, Wendy. Like, oh man. So he had a segment where he was at the house. They didn't do the whole like everyone screaming and get out of here. Like, it was him in this house, and it was pretty entertaining because he was just like drinking orange juice out of the fridge, putting his feet on the table, just like kicking his feet up everywhere. You know what I mean? Just, having some kind of funny remarks to himself. But they show Edge like running to the back. I'm like, well, bro, I mean, if you guys are in Baltimore, where are you going? You know what I mean? I'm like, are you going to go run straight to the airport? Like, what are you doing? But they show him in the back.
I would watch that.
You said what? You saw that? You saw when he came back?
I would watch that. I would watch a camera just stay with Edge for like 6 hours.
I'm coming for you, Beth. I'm coming for you.
His flight's delayed. He's just on his phone.
But
he has to an outlet mad the whole time.
You see a flight attendant. Sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to put that in airplane mode. Spear right on the plane. And then all of a sudden, Undertaker, where to, Adam? It's like, you got your airplane license? What is going on? No, but the funny thing is,
the whole time.
he had called Beth on the phone all frantic and said, go to your brothers. Don't call the police. I don't know why he said not to call police. I guess he's like, we don't snitch on wrestlers. I don't know, right? But he said, I'm going to call David and Daniel. They're going to be there right now, right? I was like, who the fuck is he talking about? Come to find out, David and Daniel are the shoot first names of FTR. Apparently, FTR, Edge, and Beth Phoenix are actually really, really good friends. They live in the same town in North Carolina. I had no idea. I thought he was still in Canada. But yeah, I guess he said them because they're really good friends to the point where when he was training to come back, he was training with them. Unbeknownst to everybody else, they weren't even with the company at the time. But he rented out a warehouse in the ring, and Dax and Cash got him back into ring shape. And I was like, that's cool. I had no idea about that. But I was like, who the fuck is David and Daniel? And then when they explained it, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, but why?
Yeah.
You know, and then so yeah, there was a little bit of context there. But
that's like when you read a comic book and Spider-Man says Superman with the lowercase s.
And I feel like
did y'all see that, by the way? They were like, it was a news report. Who's your favorite Marvel character? Mine is Superman. Mine is Superman. Because like he said, with great power comes great responsibility. I was like, oh, you botched that all the way.
I legit laughed pretty hard at that.
I was like, and no one told her. She was so confident when she said it. I was like, damn. One thing I wanted to, a few things I wanted to bring up before we got out of here. AEW. They got this ladder match coming up. You guys see that?
Yeah, is that number one contender match? Because I saw the graphic and okay.
Yeah,
for Sonic Ring or
it's a number one contender. My brother said the same thing on the podcast. We were talking about Scorpio Sky, how he grabbed the brass ring. He's like, yeah, it's Sonic Ring. Yeah.
He said it too. So
I see. I mean, it is what it is.
He said it. He said it like in a shitty way. He was like, I grabbed the Sonic Ring because everybody was making fun of him.
I'm a wrestling savant. Like I love Scorpio, but sometimes I'm like, man, I feel like you're responding to people that tease you all the time. Whenever you get a promo, you're like,
I only like Scorpio Sky because I watched them like in person in the Indies for a long time. But outside of that, I don't think I would be into Scorpio Sky.
I don't like his promos. He sounds like I'm a wrestler. Like
okay, like so that's the thing. That's the only thing about him is like he'll be him, and then it's like, first of all, I am a wrestling savant. And it's just like
he sounds like when people
that's not your real speaking voice.
He sounds like a guy playing a wrestler on a 90s sitcom.
No lie, but like I'm around a lot of indie wrestlers. There's a lot of them where I'm in the room where they're hitting a promo, and I'm like, you sound like you're just hitting the quintessential wrestler promo instead of actually like coming from what you would say. You know what I mean? You're like, I'm gonna get you Friday night.
Don't take yourself so seriously. Montez called the Usos bitches in a C flat. He was like, bitches. That was great.
Y'all notice that too, right? That they've been like kind of giving them the AEW treatment. They've been saying a lot of bullshit. They've been saying a lot of chicken shit.
Just say what you want to say.
Yeah. All of a sudden, right? I don't know. It's weird. Like, I don't have much else to say about AEW because they've been doing a good job. I ain't got nothing to say. Only reason I brought up the ladder match because there's the Joker, and I'm like, a lot of people are thinking Hangman coming back, or y'all think this is Bray Wyatt coming in? I thought it would have happened this Wednesday, being in Rochester and all that, but they decided not to go.
So as far as I know, with Bray Wyatt, and I could be wrong, because we're just a podcast, and I just read Twitter.
Wrong. We're the culture.
I'm under the impression that technically Bray Wyatt can come back early from his 90-day, but then he forfeits the money he would have made in that 90 day. So technically he can. I'm saying at this point with like 2.5 weeks or so, or 3 weeks left. Actually, it's a month. It's only October 1st. I would just wait the month.
Yeah, I think it's what the 20th. I think it ends the 23rd. I think it's like the week before Halloween, but I'm like, no one does a Halloween show. WWE, they already blew their load doing it because Hell in a Cell came on earlier this year. So it's like, you know. And then at the same
They're
time, they're
gonna
like,
bring back Halloween.
it's like,
Spooky Smack-
they're like, are we
Smackdown.
really gonna bring back Bray Wyatt back to the same? Are we gonna do a Hell in a Cell? No, he got booed. No, we can't have that. Oh, maybe Crown Jewel. Oh no, can't have that. Can't have
Worst
that.
match
Like,
ever.
yeah, it's like it's you know, I don't think he's gonna go back to the Fed, to be honest. But it is interesting. Did you guys see the Smoke and Skull sessions or Broken
Yeah.
Skull with Seth?
It came on, and I had it on. I ended up doing some other stuff, so I did hear most of it. But
It was actually better than I thought.
Yeah.
Because
It made me like Seth Rollins a little bit
I was
more.
gonna say, yeah, I was
Yeah.
expecting a different version of Seth that I'm used to, but I was like, oh, this was refreshing because
Yeah, like
you know.
and it made me even think like, because I used to think like, oh, this guy's a WWE guy, but I also think when his contract's up, he's gonna consider at least thinking of moving. But I think he'll probably
I don't
stay
know.
still. He'll stay.
I feel like
but,
he'll stay only because you know he has his wife there, his kid, and everything.
I think
It's not
like,
just him anymore.
I think like in 2 years though he'll evaluate where he's at with if he feels like
could
he's
see
done
that.
everything, then maybe he might be like, I'm gonna try to go wrestle some of my
He sounds
friends.
like he wants that WrestleMania main event.
But
Like,
he said that's the thing though. It's like he said, yeah, I technically got it. I'm like, exactly, because you cashed in and made yourself the main event. Was it 31 in the triple threat? I was
Yeah.
like, that's something that no one can take away from you because you kind of, or you know, on paper, obviously it has to be approved, but it's like, yeah,
he
we're gonna
wants
put
the
you there.
marquee.
That
yeah.
is what he said. Yeah, but
The
I love what he heard about when he was talking about strangling Vince McMahon though. That was pretty insightful because again, these are things you don't know. You think he's just this company guy that goes with it, right?
Because
like
the way he was tweeting at the time made him seem like he was kind of oblivious to the situation, where he was just like, no, it's you guys who are. But it's like, no, the fact that he came back and he's like, no, I know exactly what the fuck happened out there, and I'm upset about it. You know,
Mhm.
like, and it's like, oh, and then at that moment specifically, even he was like, all right, I need to figure out how I'm going to turn heel. You know, like it made me feel like Seth was a lot smarter than what his tweets at the time indicated.
honestly, yeah, because my last impression of him before this was all the shit, and I say it like that because that's how it came off, is the shit he was talking on Ambrose or Moxley when he left. And he was just like, you know, not everyone's built for this for this kind of life. No, not everyone can handle this kind of schedule. I'm like, bro, don't say that. That's not what it is. You're not him. You know exactly what his issue is, but you're gonna make it seem like it's, oh, he just couldn't handle it and had to take his ball and go home type shit. I wasn't a fan of that at all. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't like he quit wrestling. He just went to go wrestle for somebody else that knew how to use him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
what I get from the Broken Skull sessions that I've or the Talk is Jericho podcast or something like that is,
yeah, whatever. Yeah,
I'm getting this vibe that like a lot of people are like, oh well, Vince wants people to grab the brass ring and stuff like that, and or some people know, like some people got their way and some people didn't. I'm beginning to think, like, for example, using Seth and Dean Ambrose as an example, it really felt like when Seth talked to Vince might have listened, but it feels like when Dean talked to Vince didn't listen. And I think like that's more on like Vince than like thinking like Seth saying, well, he wasn't built for this. I don't think it's on the wrestler. I think it's on Vince just choosing who he wants to listen to and not listen to. You know, like Vince is gonna listen to Brock Lesnar when he doesn't want to put Dean Ambrose over in a match or something, you know, stuff like that. But like, so I think
some people have that where I don't want to call it respect, but they've earned that from Vince.
Yeah, it's not like a brass ring thing, in my opinion. It's just like, hey,
you make me money type thing.
Yeah,
so I'll listen to you type thing. Yeah.
So that's why I think like for like, you know, like Roman's fine. Roman probably has like, you know, Vince's ear, you know, but like and then people are like, well, what the fuck? Why isn't Finn better? Well, Finn probably doesn't have Vince's ear, you know, like
I mean, it was weird that he got moved back to SmackDown before the draft. So that was weird. I don't know, man.
Go out there and dance, bro.
It's just he's like, yeah, can you pop lock it?
Like if you're gonna,
he's like, well, what music you gonna play? Your theme music? Oh, I could do that shit.
I'm gonna go on a soapbox real quick, just for 20 seconds. Play the music, dim the lights. Just don't have him doing the Omarion thing. Yeah, just have the heartbeat in the background, and then all of a sudden he gets up. You know what I mean? Like we don't need to see him like Like
that was stupid. That
like
literally
him,
messed it up.
like
That
the way
messed it up.
the way he stood up though, yeah, that was dope. But the whole
Yeah.
oh, I gotta pump myself. It's like he was low key hulking up, right? Like almost. Like it was almost like the demon version of a Hulk up. I don't know. It was I don't know.
Any Hulk up. Going back to even when Hulk did it is usually
It's
not
hokey.
very good.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
the only one that I actually like is when someone kips up.
Yeah,
like
a Shawn Michaels or like
bro. I've been trying to do kip ups since I was like 4 years old, and
it's like no, how they do it with no hand? Oh, what's his name? Drew McIntyre does it too. So yeah,
Drew McIntyre's is actually very good because of how big, and I think it's usually better when like obviously like when Ricochet does it, it's like all right, well you can do everything, but I think like when Drew McIntyre does it, being like 8'7",
seriously,
I don't even think Drew uses his hands. He's just
I was gonna say that's all that core, baby. Like he's just like, but yeah, if Ricochet, it's like if Ricochet couldn't do it, you're like, bro, you're worthless. Not really, but it's like out of all those things, you can't even do a kip up.
But like when Shawn Michaels used to do it, and it's always like he always told his back when he did it.
Yeah,
like
he was always
putting his back, and
he was always smart. Like
his hair back.
He's like, I didn't do it to show off. I promise. I just had to get up before he did. I don't know what he was about to do. I knew I had to get up before he did. Two things I wanted to bring up, and this is probably going to be the end of this episode because I know we're going to be on some discussion on both. I think I'll bring the first one up first because it happened. That happened first, technically. Dark Side of the Ring. You guys watching?
You guys haven't talked about this yet? Okay.
No, we haven't. I mean, I was just. I mean, I don't want to make it a whole thing, but I don't want to. Tommy Dreamer, I've already talked ad nauseum about. I mean, I don't really hate for Dreamer, but there's something about his comments where I feel like he, number one, was a victim of bad editing. Or not bad editing, just editing. Like, you had the girl kind of spill her guts about how it affected her job and her marriage after, and then it's like, well, I don't know why she didn't go through the full extent of the law. I was like,
I didn't think of that, but now that you bring it up, like, they kind of,
so it's like, so I'm like, I mean, he could have still said the same thing, but say if that was like the earlier part of the episode, would it be just as bad? I don't know. I don't like what he said. I mean, I understand what he was trying to say, but at the same time, it seemed like, bro, why are you taking this bullet for Ric Flair, who probably doesn't even know who you are or doesn't respect what you do? You know what I mean?
I think sometimes people find themselves in a position where there's certain people, there's like a character archetype, right? Like there's certain people who have to be the contrarian, or they have to look at things from a different angle, peculiar angle. But sometimes right is right, wrong is wrong, black is black, white is white.
Yeah.
And you can't play that different angle or let's look at it like this, because it's like, bro, if you hear what this girl is saying and you understand, especially the climate we're in right now.
Well, bro, he not only that, he has 2 daughters of his own.
Yeah, you can't. So, don't try to go the other way.
Yeah,
this one, bro.
Yeah, because it could at one point, and I'm not saying I don't wish it could happen to someone, his niece, his daughter. It's like you can't, like, you have to have the same opinion. I guess you don't have to, but it's like, I mean, you know what I mean? It seems wrong to like not have keep the same energy when it's someone at home base. You know what I'm saying?
It's a situation where I don't think he understood the gravity of what he was saying.
He didn't understand the assignment at all. Yeah,
bro. But that's the thing. A lot of people that in the world today, unless, like you said, unless it's something that happened specifically to them, then
they have a whole different.
It doesn't compute.
No, you're right. You're right, because not to go too political, but when everything happened, earlier with the whole Lloyd shooting and all that, I had a lot of people saying a lot of shit that I went to school with, work with, and instead of just addressing everybody, I just put out a video saying like, yo, as much as y'all don't think of me that way, it could be me. Then I said, I implore you, I would love to hear what y'all would have to say about me if that was me in that situation.
Right.
And then all of a sudden,
I got some shit if it, that the news will post and be like, this is the guy. And it's like, But they could paint the wrong picture of me after the fact. You know what I'm saying? So you have to
100%.
understand. If you know that,
like,
you approach those situations.
Apparently, he was about facts only.
Yeah.
It's like this is his best representation of Mac Lowe.
They definitely not posting that. They gonna pick some old stupid shit where I look.
Nah, I don't know.
I
think your girl might be the supplier on those. She like, I need y'all to send these in the collage. We gonna have to. They gonna know what my baby look like. but you're right. Like until like people consider it from a personal standpoint, then it's like, well, what'd you say? Some people even get defensive about it. It's like, no, bro, but the possibility of this, it could be anybody. The fact is, Tommy, I feel like he looked at it more as, I just got to defend pro wrestling. I'm like, okay, but you have to accept this black eye on pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And as much as you may not agree, for the sake of you and your reputation and the reputation of professional wrestling, you got to show a little bit of.
If that was me, and the documentary guys were sitting in front of me and they asked me those questions,
you're trying to get something out of you,
and told me what happened and asked me like what, I'll be like, what? That's what happened? Yo, that's fucked up. And leave it there. Don't.
Bro. Had it been, I would have been Mike Chioda the entire episode. Just, oh man, shit was wild. He didn't say. He didn't add nothing to nothing. He was just like, oh man, yeah, we were doing some somas. It was crazy.
Because like, if what they did was what really happened, is fucked up, and I'm glad that like it's kind of seen light, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like at the same time, like if all these guys are friends, they're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like I'm not. I know that's a very Hulk Hogan answer, and like so I'm trying. I don't want people to think like, well, you know, like you're not being very considerate or whatever. But I just mean in like just being in general, right? Like if Ric Flair or is like someone you consider your friend, why would you say half the things you're saying? You know, like, or if like, and
why is he? Why is he going unchecked?
And then in Tommy Dreamer's case, like you've been in this business long enough, like
he's more like who acts like what. It's just
where the world's at right now. Like you can't like unless he did this interview like 5 years ago when like maybe something.
I think it was filmed either earlier this year or late last year, because even people were asking Rob Van Dam about him. And he was like, well, people were asking Rob, and he's like, yeah, I gotta watch it back. I haven't even seen it. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they filmed this before, you know what I mean? Like earlier this year or something. But even then, like, I fail to accept the fact that Tommy Dreamer left that set that day. Was like, I shouldn't have anything to worry about in a couple months. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. And it's like, or he's like, I'm very like, and it's one thing. Tommy Dreamer,
I'm very confident that would really well.
like I'm very, I'm proud of what I said. And the thing is, like, I'm also like, the only thing, and I feel like I'm gonna get myself in trouble, but good thing we don't have the same fan base as Dark Side of the Ring. is how should I put this? Tommy Dreamer probably didn't listen to what the flight attendant was saying.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Jim Cornette, he made it a point to say that any person they interview during these things, they're not played what other people are like. They just get it. Yeah. So that's why I think maybe that's why I initially said maybe bad editing, whatever.
Mm-hmm. He's like hearing statements.
We could just put that on the back end of this. This is gonna make Tommy look great.
Because I was like, Tommy might have been like told stuff, and he's like, that didn't happen, or like, you know what?
Yeah, I was thinking.
I don't remember it that way.
They had to give him some sort of context to react that way, right? Like, or at least some sort of leading question to get what reaction they're trying to.
But you gotta be smart enough to know that. It's Dark Side of the Ring.
Damn. So we saying that Tommy Dreamer got worked? Low key. Low key, man. I mean, it's just funny because Vince McMahon, they're like, all right, Rick, we'll release you, but we're gonna keep your woo in our opening. And then the night that dropped, next day on SmackDown, no woo.
Dude, Vince was probably, you know, like the Jim from The Office behind the blinds when this was happening, because he was just like Rick asked for his release like a few weeks ago, and then now he's not getting any jobs from anywhere else.
He's like, hey Vince, my merch checks stopped coming in. What's going on? It's like, you got the wrong number, pal. Sorry. Who is
the only
this?
player I know is Charlotte.
He's like, Charlotte? Is this you, Ashley? Oh, you do a great impression of your dad. Like, it's weird. I mean, like my brother was saying, my brother's a huge Flair fan, but you know, he was talking, like he saw the 30 for 30. He was like, yo, it was an ugly story, for like very revealing and an ugly side of Flair that you hear about. But he was like, kind of, I don't want to say agreeing with, but you know, Flair had a tweet about like saying, I mean, this would have came out with all those things if this was true, is what he was basically saying. Like, and not that he was the one being forthcoming about this stuff. People who did the special on him did the research to ask him and bring up this stuff. So he was saying that
I didn't watch the 30 for today.
I didn't
like the flight attendant or anything like that. Do you know that?
I don't think they even brought it up, but that's another reason why people are kind of outraged about it. And I have to bring this up. There's people who have never heard of this until that episode. You know what I mean? I keep forgetting there's newer, younger fans that have no idea. I've heard about the plane ride from hell, the reference of it for years. You know what I mean?
And it's always been given this, like, it's this funny, crazy
like
night.
Oh, it was
right.
Yeah. And then so there's
I
people
didn't know people were getting drugged and stuff.
Dude, I mean, like RVD said that he was getting H-bombed on a regular. And I'm like, how are someone like you getting pranked? Like, you're like,
and you know
top
what?
tier. Like that's crazy.
And this is where I kind of draw the line a little bit, is like, because like, I'm pretty sure, you know, especially what Undertaker said, like it was a no man's land in terms of like, you know, wrestlers back in the day, you had stuff in your bag and stuff like that.
Well, fucking Arn had to be there.
And just like, you know, 20 years ago, like, you know, like even when the flight attendant was saying stuff like, because this was extremely sad, like how do you explain this to your husband, and your husband's getting upset at you know,
that sucked,
like that, like this. So like this was at a time where some of the stuff wasn't very respected, and like RVD even casually mentioning like, well, yeah, we used to do that to women too, like throwing the drugs and the thing, and it's like in my head like that's very incriminating, like, and like, and then like so with the Ric Flair stuff, you know, like it's terrible. and so like in a weird way, when when RVD mentioned that, like in my head I was like, you're just that's also setting up for that, the fact that the Ric Flair thing did probably happen because you guys probably had an attitude where taking advantage of women was a thing, and
because you guys felt like large, I mean, and Flair being probably the biggest suspect of that. I mean, him coming from the 80s, you being such a huge star, just larger than life, you could walk into a room and not necessarily try to have to court people. They just walk up to you, right? So he's probably like, I'm drunk, 3 carts of alcohol in, I'm back in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? Especially because he went and got the robe and did the helicopter, as they call it. But it happened because Dustin, she said that Dustin is the one that got him away from her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the thing that scared me, to be honest, was because I never heard that Scott Hall was part of this ride at all until they talked about him being just totally like blacked out, and like they had to kind of do a whole like weekend at Bernie's just to get him off the plane.
Scott Hall didn't know he was a part of that ride,
bro. You know how I know? It's because every other like every other dark side, right? X-Pac and Scott Hall, they don't care, they'll talk. None of them was on there. I'm like, for real? This is the one time y'all decided to take the day off, was when it's about y'all.
I don't remember that happening at all.
The survey says I was drunk off my ass. I don't know.
And then like kind of like when Jim Ross mentioned at the end though, like
I felt bad for Jim because Jim gets, because when you think about it, the same thing happened to Jim when he had to wrangle Ric Flair at the whole panel for the video game, the 2K thing. And he got fired for not being able to control Flair, who was obviously still emotional from his son passing away. And I felt bad because it's like the whole time I'm watching the episode, I'm like, hold on, dude, where the fuck is Vince? Where's Vince when all this is going on? Right?
Yeah, you would think all Vince would have to do is go back there and be like, cut this shit out.
Well, see, my brother remembers another part of that story that they didn't even bring up. You know, when Kurt Hennig and Brock were wrestling, there was another time on that same flight where Vince was wrestling with someone else, and they didn't even bring it up. I think it may have been Kofi Kingston, actually, but they didn't even bring it up. And I was like, I'm pretty sure when you look at who was all talking, none of them still work for WWE, but it was like, yeah, we're not going to comment on none of this shit. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, but for me, I would have been like, Vince, I'm gonna need a comment, or else we're gonna do Dark Side season 3 with About to Kiss My Ass Club. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna talk about how you're forcing women to kiss your ass on live TV. This is not right, Vince. I don't. It's weird. The whole thing's weird.
Because like going back to the Tommy Dreamer thing, like what he said was unexcusable.
Yeah.
But breaking it down, I guess we were saying like, you know, like maybe he didn't hear the context and that's why he answered the way he did. Maybe if he heard what the flight attendant said, he would have a different take on it. But he didn't give any indication he would.
No, it sounded real broad where they're like, well, what do you think about what happened? He was like, well, I think if she said happened, what happened, I would have, you know, tried to go through the first. I mean, that it sounded like it, but it just made him come off like such an asshole. It really did.
But also I think like I said, this is a very Hulk Hogan take on it too, is like just don't say anything that makes you come across like an asshole, like regardless what the context of the question was.
Like, you got to be smarter than that.
Yeah, like Hulk Hogan, don't get recorded. I'm like, no, don't be racist.
See, you know, the thing is, like, the thing with Tommy is too, I think he probably was still answering like real earnestly, but it's different when he probably really believes that it didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like maybe he actually doesn't believe that. He probably believes maybe some hanky panky went on, some shenanigans, but maybe he doesn't believe it's what everyone's been talking about, right? And maybe that's where the origin of where his comments is coming from. But again, because he makes it real, like even though it's a real cut and dry type of thing to say, he makes it real known that he doesn't really believe it, right? Like he's basically saying like, well, if she really got assaulted, why didn't she go to the police? You know what I mean? That's pretty much what he's saying. But I don't know.
Well, obviously, from an audience, we're hearing her, and then we're hearing his take.
Yeah, like exactly. And I do want to give her flowers, dude, because it's already hard enough to do what she did. She signed it. I think she was the only one that spoke about it because she had an NDA agreement. But I don't know if you guys got the same thing from her, but I felt like even though she was telling this story about the different wrestlers and stuff and what they were doing, not necessarily to her, but just on the flight, she quickly would also like try to not necessarily downplay, but she was like also like, it was weird. Like I got the sense that she was saying this stuff, but she also didn't want to ruin anyone who may have looked up to these guys. You know what I mean? Like she was still kind of being a little bit protective of what they could possibly mean to certain people who could be watching that. But I don't know, like I do like her account. I sympathize with her, dude. Like it wasn't like I don't feel like I got worked, but listening to her and seeing how her personality was, I believe her, dude. I do. I really do.
I kind of got the vibe that like in that profession, and she says she's done it with a lot of sports teams too. And
a lot of them go through that airline to avoid any type of they want the discretion, right? Yeah.
I'm sure there's countless moments where like maybe it's never pushed the bar as like, you know, Ric Flair cornering her or Scott Hall basically, you know,
what do you lick her face?
Yeah. And then on top of that, like, you know, them going through like 3 carts of alcohol or something like that. Like I'm sure like maybe like when she flew the Phoenix Suns or something like that didn't happen necessarily, but I'm sure like she's probably dealt with a lot of like
just rowdy passengers, right?
Rowdy macho men thinking
the whole atmosphere is like, it's not
like,
that different. Yeah, right.
So I'm sure like she's like just based on the job, she probably was like, you know, like guys are gonna be guys kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then like, but like this situation really pushed the bar, you know,
100%,
and like But like,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
saying the
I'm
guys will be guys thing's okay.
No, yeah, I was gonna say, but it's like I'm sure there's things that happened that in hindsight are probably minute to what happened on that flight that she probably didn't even talk about when she got home because it was just like whatever, you know. I know guys can be, you know, whatever, you know. So it's like, yeah, it's I don't know. It's one of those episodes I was excited for, but then on the other end, I was like, oh, I wish I didn't know this. Like, you know what I mean? You're like, you want to.
I'll admit, like, I usually kind of wait for a while to watch Dark Side of the Ring or something like that. Like, I'll kind of like, you know, like, oh, I'll wait for a little while to watch that, or like listen, like, hey, if there's a good one. But when Dark Side of the Ring like hit Twitter and all that, and I was like, oh,
Something's up. Yeah,
I should probably watch this one.
Yeah, and it was pretty. Like I said, it kind of made people have to look at their favorites in a certain light.
Because like Dark Side of the Ring doesn't usually like hit wrestling news. Does that make sense? Like,
no, yeah, people will talk about how good the episode was, but yeah, for it to be like, oh, did you see how so and so was talking? And yeah, you don't usually see it as like a trend. Yeah, like so much of a trending topic.
Dark Side of the Ring doesn't lead to somebody getting suspended from Impact, and
dude,
like,
yeah, that was you
know, like,
which again, I'm like, Tommy, did you just continue going into work like, oh, I got a secure job. This is not going to affect Impact in any way.
Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to ask y'all, and we can get out of here. You mentioned it earlier. It is extremely difficult right now to watch NXT. It's so weird. It's like when I was talking to my brother, I'm like, dude, I feel like they're going way too character driven now. And I get it. That's how it started, but you can't just serve it to me. I need a reason to root behind somebody. I need a reason to invest in somebody. Like, oh, this is the country fighting tag team we got. So that's them. And it's like, oh, Josh Briggs, you definitely weren't country a couple months ago in the freaking tournament. You know what I mean? Like, I can't, like, it's weird. It's
I am
like certain things I like I don't mind this new Trick Williams with the Carmelo thing. That's cool. But dude, I don't need y'all to shove Braun Breaker through my TV screen every week. It's evident y'all are, you know, lighting the rocket to him, you know, obviously. But what are we doing? Like, there's
no stories at all.
No.
There were a lot of stories like, okay, you had, because a lot of guys were like locked in NXT for a while, so you didn't have to necessarily build a big story around Tommaso Gargano done because they just have built-in rivalries. But when you take the show format and all of this, it used to be introduce one or two guys, right? And we might have a show full of people that we know, and then they'll introduce that tag team that you mentioned. And it's like, oh, okay, but we only have to deal with them for 5 to 12 minutes, and they'll keep kind of giving them to us after week until we get used to them. Now, every 5 to 12 minutes is a different person that I've never seen before.
Dude,
and they're not necessarily polished. And the character is, mostly with wrestling, the character is always way too much first, and then they dial it back.
They gotta find that sweet medium for it. But
so right now, I'm getting 2 hours of a bunch of people being either way too corny, way too over the top, and it's like cartoonish to a point. And it's like, I don't want to watch.
I mean,
this.
I made the joke. I'm like, when you look at their logo, it's kind of self-explanatory what they're doing. They're literally throwing paint on the wall to see what sticks. You know what I'm saying? And it's like there's one dude, the Italian guy was saying D'Angelo something, or Tony D'Angelo, whatever. They just been doing vignettes on him. That's fine. Because you know what I'm saying? But like when the second episode of 2.0, you got Ciampa out there and he's surrounded by all the new faces. You're like, dude, you should be turning around and naming who these people are, because people are watching you in the ring with these guys and don't even know who the hell these guys are. Why are they in the same ring as you? I don't understand. Like, Joe Gacy's probably the only one that's been kind of intriguing. He's the one that keeps sitting down and talking about the ring as a safe space. Something about his delivery is actually getting me to hang on. I thought the one that he did this Wednesday was a little bit too long, but the fact that he's always like, I know there's a match coming on, so I do thank you guys for your time and your open mind. Something about that sign off, I'm like, that seems real to me. You know what I mean? For someone to just walk in and start talking to people about some shit that they don't understand. And it's like, By the way, thanks for your time, guys, and I appreciate you guys being open-minded. You guys can, go on to your next, whatever. But yeah, like you said, there's a lot of like Braun Breaker just beat fucking Rex Steiner or Bronson Steiner. Like, I don't understand that whole situation. Vince has come out since that said we don't have issues with the Steiners. It was Scott who had issues with us. In fact, they've both turned down multiple times when we were trying to induct them in the Hall of Fame. We don't have issues with the Steiners.
But his son signed with your company. And if you don't have an issue with the Steiners, then just give him the Steiner name.
So I guess what the thing about that is I think his dad doesn't want them to own his name, because that would mean that they would own the name for merchandise rights and stuff like that. If that's the deal, then say that, dude. But it's like, we're going to call you Braun Breaker with two Ks. That's going to get over.
Okay. Yeah, he's definitely changing his name before he.
Main roster, he has to, right? Like, I didn't watch the first episode, but when you didn't miss but
I was like, all right, let me hear the reviews from a couple of sites before I dabble into this. Before, I just want to make sure, because I'm not gonna let the WWE hurt me again. So
you don't get access like that, WWE.
So I'm like, all right, let's see here. So yeah, he's not going by Steiner, which is, I'm like, fine. If you're gonna say Steiner, then want him to use his name, and maybe he's respecting his dad or something, then fine. But like you said, we need to know that, okay, they're being respectful now. They're not being idiots. Fine.
By the way, shout out Mac for that Mojo Rawley meme, because I thought that when I first seen him, and then I seen that you put it on the story, I was like, this is who they wanted him to be, but they couldn't find him at the time.
Second, they had LA Knight and Braun Breaker wrestle before they were in a fatal 4-way.
Bro, that was the most dumbest logic. Like, hey, I'm gonna make my own match, lose to you, and then also take the loss in the fatal 4-way. Like, what?
For what?
And then because imagine, I'm not gonna lie,
is he getting drafted? If he's getting drafted, okay, but
if they gave the title to LA Knight that night, I think I would have been like, oh, that's decent storytelling. Like, it's not the best. Yeah, like, have him take the L. Everyone thinks he's lost his shit, and then he lost his heat, and then all of a sudden he's the one holding the championship at the end. Like, I think that. But the thing is, I do like that Tommaso got it. But let's just. But so then that happened, and then the fact that Kyle O'Reilly was taking out the fatal 4-way, I SpongeBob. I was like, all right, I'm out. I'm not investing.
Dude, no, like this.
Who?
Von Wagner. Von Wagner. Okay, so this is the thing.
This is your fucking championship match. Who the fuck are these people,
bro? First of all. Who names? You're not a rapper, so who's gonna name you Vaughn as your first name, right? That's one thing. Second of all, is it just maybe your last name? Is your last name Von Wagner? So you're just going by the last? That's second. But third, your dad is part of the Beverly Brothers. So now that's two guys who are second generation superstars on this new NXT 2.0 that you guys don't want to build on the history of, which makes no sense. Like, y'all could even made his last name Beverly. Just for this,
and I don't know you, so when I'm watching the match, you could put on a.
Am I the only one that seen him? I was like, "Yo, ain't that the dude that plays Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat? He got the cheekbones perfect for that, bro." I'm like, you look you look like you could play a psycho in a movie.
If I don't know who you are, I can't get.
Why would you be the guy that gets put into this match?
I might as well turn on WWE 2K and just put on a simulated match. It's the same thing.
I was gonna say hit that random button and just let it rock, right?
And just let it go, because I don't know. Yeah. I'm gonna see the same moves, but I have to be invested, and I don't know nobody here. And then Hit Row got drafted to SmackDown.
Yeah, possibly.
So I'm really not gonna watch.
Which was that was the only reason I watched. And then I ain't gonna lie, when I first saw the match with B-Fab, I was like,
it was not good.
I was like, both these women are still green,
yeah.
I was like, why would they have them come on screen though? If they're, I'm like, I don't know.
So a lot I guess not a lot of people. Vince felt that NXT was not developing wrestlers; they were just letting indie guys have a showcase, right? even though I really do feel like a lot of indie guys don't get the promo skills that they need in the indie, so they get it in WWE, which makes them pretty good when they get to the main roster. It's just he wants bigger, flashier people, but
larger than life superstars.
I'm not gonna lie to you. One of my weird. This is where like Vince gets me, and like I stay up late at night thinking about this. There's nothing extremely flashy about Tommaso Ciampa. Why would you make him the first champion? Like,
right.
He's a solid veteran that could help.
But like you said, total opposite of we're looking for big 6-foot guys that are young, and it's like old man Ciampa that's 5 foot whatever, right? And it's like, and that's just I like Ciampa, but that's not his archetype for I mean like. That's total opposite of what Vince is doing. So I'm like, I feel like all they're doing right now is buying time to put the belt on Breaker and then just have him go against guys that are his size.
But then, so we get to that point, but we're all now not watching. Like the thing that kept NXT watchable was the loyal 500,000 people that watched every week, and then eventually the trickle of casuals. Like, now your loyal fan, like this show is not going to be on fucking USA next year.
No,
like it's going to be one of the least viewed things on Peacock.
Dude, their second episode already went down.
Like in my opinion, like what the fuck are you doing? Like, I don't mean to be like blunt about it and just cuss for the sake of cussing.
But that's how, as us being the diehard fans that grew up on the beginning to like, I mean, that's seen pretty much almost every era of this, right? And then it's like, how did we get here? Like, and it's like, I'm not naive to know and acknowledge that that's what it originally was. I get it. You know what I mean? And there was a lot of people, I don't want to say they were super green, but you would put them on TV and you would start to see, they would, like so many times, bro, like No Way Jose, before he was No Way Jose, he was just him and Danny Burch. Those two guys I would always see taking L's all the time.
Patrick Clark before his Velveteen, stuff like that. Like,
and then you see who they become after a while, and you see that they've earned their way, and they all, they have this little osmosis into who they can become, not just a face that's going to take an L. Like that stuff is exciting, but this is like, hey, we got a bunch of guys from the roster ready to go. I'm like, well, I don't even know who these guys are. You're not giving me any, again, no reason to root for them, no reason to invest in them. It's like there's certain guys that we know who they are. But I mean, it's funny. The one thing I was telling my brother too, that was like, it came to me, I guess this keeps me up at night now. Same as you, Brian. Remember the excitement. And I say this because it's truly an end of an era. We're not going to get this ever again. The excitement of anytime there was a takeover, who's going to be in the crowd? Who's going to be in the crowd? There were so many rumors of who was a free agent around the time a show would come on. You're like, I wonder if WWE's going to get him. Or there's talks of WWE that they actually had some negotiation with them. And then you would lose your mind over who you would see sitting down with the suit, with the name bar. You're like, oh, what? He's coming over? We don't get that no more. You know what I mean? It's so weird. Like
AEW kind of plays a part in that too, I think. Though.
Yeah, no, but also the fact that WWE's not looking for the indie guy anymore. They're not looking for the guy coming from another company. They're not looking for. They're looking to make their own guys, and I get that. That's totally respectable.
And I think WWE needs to realize, like, when WrestleMania, SummerSlam, maybe every once in a while when Brock Lesnar has a match, some people kind of like float in, but the people that have been loyal to your shitty fucking Raw for an entire year and SmackDown are people like us.
Yeah, we deserve more, man.
And what we like is wrestling. And if you're not gonna put it even on your third brand, we'll just fucking watch AEW. Like, not all of us do a podcast where we feel like we have to watch all 52 hours of wrestling every week. Jesus. Some of us will just be like, I'll just watch AEW, or I'll tune back in at the Royal Rumble. Stuff like that. Like,
because again, they know it's just a bunch of filler right now. Like
it's out of touch is used so frequently, but now is the most evident. Because like when I first heard about NXT doing this, I was on the show, which was over a month ago, and I was like, dude, you're legitimately ruining the best thing about the WWE is the NXT, and like now
because that's what it's. I mean, if the main show is not moving you, then at least you have your eye on what the future is going to be looking like, and you're excited about that. But then now you don't have that.
And then they fucked up a lot of the call-ups too, which kind of hurt NXT a little bit. And
honestly,
if they just let it breathe and let Triple H do his thing, it would have been fine. But the issue is that Vince, like, even unintentionally kind of had his hands in NXT by screwing up all the call-ups and taking people away from Triple H when he wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, now he's got his grummy hands in fucking the production and the creative, and
it feels like this isn't supposed to be on TV.
Bro,
it's FCW.
It's
FCW, and
but even see it yet. They're not ready yet.
Even the first episode,
they should have kept NXT the way it was.
Yeah,
and then let this be on like the network. If you really want to just watch these developmental guys, it shouldn't be.
Dog, it feels like this is NXT Dark. Is what it is, bro.
Right.
This shouldn't even be on the Peacock. This should be on YouTube, and it's just be like, hey, we got this Braun Breaker guy. So we're gonna put his match on YouTube, but the rest of NXT,
if they had
never
NXT
existed.
Dark on the YouTube and he had a good match, or somebody had an interest, like the therapist dude had an interesting showing on the YouTube, then you can keep letting them be on there. And when those views go up, that will indicate to you, oh, this person is registered.
They actually like him. Yeah, they
let's put them on the main NXT, give them you know what I mean? But to put all these developmental people back to back for 2 hours, I'm not.
Well, to be honest, I
think this isn't what USA paid for, I'm assuming too.
No,
like,
dude, I mean,
mad.
But look at the first episode though. Like what what main evented the first episode? The wedding. The wedding went on after the Fatal 4-Way. And it's like
I forgot that too, but
you know what I mean?
That's when SpongeBob left, though. You know,
and like the sponge, like the wedding was fine, you know what I mean? But it was like, why are we going off the air with this? This doesn't do anything for anybody, unless they're gonna be going to the main roster. Oh no, we're gonna do more vignettes about how they're celebrating their honeymoon this week. I'm like, God, this is stupid.
It should have been.
It was like
it should have been on top
clip, bro.
Maybe you top the second. You top the second hour with that, right? You don't start the show off with that. You start the show off with a banger, and then you end with the Fatal 4-Way. So you'd have the wedding right in the middle, right when the first hour ends.
Yeah, right before. Yeah, I was gonna say to try to increase the viewership within that last hour. Yeah, like I don't know, man. It's end of an era, man. It's like I used to.
Are we even gonna get takeovers anymore? Like.
That's why I was like, I think we may be getting some pay-per-views, or maybe not. Maybe. But then again, it's like if they're developmental, why would there be a pay-per-view for developmental, right? Like,
there's like 4 people on NXT that I'm checking for, and I just want them to get moved somewhere else at this point.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's becoming a situation where like this is doomsday, and it's like shit. Now, if I really want to watch my guys, I hope they go to Raw or SmackDown, which even is just like lose situation because they're not going to be there either.
Yeah,
so it's like, dude, you had it in your hands and you let it just sink. Man. And it's like, I get that like we're probably in the wrong in terms of like, we should know that's not what Vince wants. And since Vince was like, well, none of these guys are coming up that I like, I need to go down there and make sure I know what I like. But
that's the problem, bro. Like, you didn't like John Cena. You didn't like Stone Cold. You didn't like Mick Foley, and those are just 3 names that you were not sold on before these guys went on to make a whole bunch of money for your ass. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, Vince, you can be wrong, and you need to accept that and allow the people that you are putting around you to put you on to some people, because you definitely have passed on some people or just miscasted tons. Like,
dude,
I argue the only homegrown guy that they've ever successfully gotten out of NXT with a semi decent main roster call up is Baron Corbin. He's the only guy. Everyone else, all these indie guys that got called up, ruined. You know what I'm saying? And that's including Cross, because he was an indie guy as well. It's like, I don't understand.
Now they're all in AEW, and they're making AEW a better product to watch. Like, even if you don't feel like they're needle pushers, eventually small little needle movements though are going to be like, oh, okay, this is becoming a lot more entertaining to watch than what you're putting on. Like, it's just one of those things, like you said, is just like, also with John Cena basically half retired, you just retired the Undertaker. Goldberg, yeah, sure, he could come back twice a year, but nobody likes it. And stuff like that. You have Drew McIntyre, guys, Roman Reigns, but like, you gotta start thinking about like
your new, like, there's an unbelievable dependence on all these guys for no and are these guys, when you bring them in outside of The Rock or Cena or Brock, are they really moving the needle and making money for y'all? Don't tell me Goldberg is coming in and selling a bunch of merch every time he shows up, because I know that ain't true.
Only if they put "I'm gonna kill you" on the shirt.
If they put that, or if they had that, and then on the back they had a picture of him choking his son, yeah, I buy that. I buy that. But I will end this right, because I knew this is I was like, we could do a whole episode on this. I did want to bring up one thing before we get out of here, and it's
save Io Shirai, get her out of there.
There you go. Yes. Did you guys hear that? Because we were talking about guys from AEW leaving to go to AEW, making it a better product. So I heard, we heard news about Adam Cole and what they were trying to do with him, and how Vince saw him as not a wrestler, but a guy to be a manager or a someone that's going to help speak for somebody else. But, we did hear that they originally wanted to pair him with a Monster Hill version of Keith Lee. Now we can confirm they wanted him to change his look, and that includes shaving his head and changing his name completely.
Oh yeah, because there's already a Michael Cole, right?
Exactly. Wait, we already have they probably have a bunch of Michaels too, right? I noticed that. I was like,
people can't have the same name,
bruh. It's
WWE, my friend.
No, because it's only in AEW
where you have literally somebody else's name entirely.
Bruh. But okay, so this is what's funny about that name. I picked that. My real rap name is Sequence, right? Sometimes Sequence the Kid. That was a nickname my brother gave me, the Kid, right? Everyone calls me Kid for short. But Sequence, that was my name. At the time, Twitter was popping up and people were like doing these nicknames of their names. Like, I think my homie or my cousin, his name is Salute. He called himself Lute Olson. You know what I mean? Like Doc, I forgot what he put, but I was like, fuck it, I'll put I don't know, Quincy Jones, right? Everyone started calling me that shit when they started seeing me at the show.
See?
So I was like, I guess it's just what it is then.
Imagine if you were like, well, I can't do this.
Man, I hate being Quincy Jones,
I hate it. But it's so funny because now I'm like, man, I get people that send me a bunch of shit like the Boondocks episode where he's like, don't look at Quincy Jones. He can't help you. And I'm like, I need to use that. I need to use some of this shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, that Adam Cole thing, I was like, that just proves again what I was just saying. Y'all just don't know what y'all have when you have it. Like,
they think we're stupid. They think Adam Cole's gonna walk out and we're gonna be like, wait, what? I thought that was Adam Pearce.
I gotta admit though that
imagine it's Adam Cole. It's him and he's bald in the suit. Yeah, Adam Pearce.
I think
we can't have two Adams on. We can't have two Adams on.
I think the thing that blows my mind.
We got Edge already.
Like, so if you guys, I wanted to see if you guys could walk through this with me. I would say at this point, being that he's the most popular NXT champion of all time, arguably, but I would make the argument, right? He's probably going to be the hottest free agent on the market. He is on the level of like when AJ Styles left and all that, like he's at this point, right? He's the best person you could get. Any company in the world could get is Adam Cole at this point. And you have an opportunity to try to convince him to fucking stay. And you were like, all right, hey, Adam, I got one for you. I got one.
A couple of us were kicking around ideas in the creative room. And wait till you hear this one.
So don't sign the dotted line yet. All right. We're going to
brace yourself. Here it comes.
So like we already have a Michael Cole. So we'll not do Adam Cole, which we all know that you don't want to be Adam Cole. And then we're gonna shave your head because you don't have beautiful hair. And we're gonna do the one thing that we're gonna take away the one thing that you're really good at, which is your wrestling, and just make you talk. But at least we'll pair you with someone that you had a huge rivalry with in NXT is Keith Lee.
And by the way, your name that you like so much, that you built such a slogan off of these past few years, yeah, we're taking that shit too. So no more Bebe, no Bebe for you. Like, all those shirts.
I don't know what AEW could give you. I don't know what AEW could give you.
All those shirts that you sold the shit out of in NXT with your actual name on it. Yeah, we can't do those anymore. Like
it's like Vince told the person, "Hey, go in that meeting and just tell him everything so he doesn't sign." I don't want Adam Cole's 5'8" ass on my main.
The funny thing is that sounds like a Vince thing to do, to go and give someone something like that just to see how they react, because that's a Vince test for sure. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, That's like when Christian he told Christian Cage, I just want to put a blue dot on his face. I hate his face. What? What do you, I'm not saying that Christian Cage is the most handsome man in the world, but I'm like, I put a blue dot on Von Wagner before I put it on Christian Cage. So it's just like he's just a senile old man who just he gets it, but not all of it anymore. And he needs to just be more willing to accept that, dude, and let people work for him.
And I picture Adam Cole being respectful. He'd just be like, "Hey, you know what? Let me think about it."
Dude, he definitely like pocket called Britt so she could hear the whole thing in his pocket. He's like, "Yeah, so you heard that bullshit, right? Yeah, tell Tony I'm coming.
I'm pretty sure
to fire up the Jets."
I'm pretty sure Tony called in. Adam's like, "Well, let me hear what the WWE has to say first. I like the AEW idea, but you know what? Like, I can maybe be a big fish in a small pond over here. It's just like because a lot of people left and they're in your company now. So let me hear what WWE has to say.
But you know what? Like, let me break it down for you even further now. When you're breaking it out before, this is the guy who his match is the only reason why NXT beat AEW once in those weeks. Yeah. But you're gonna get rid of him. You're gonna let him leave.
Yeah.
That's dumb. Like, because even Tony, he had said when he showed up, it's dumb. Like Tony said, he said when Adam Cole came over, he was scared of shit of him. And they asked him to elaborate. He's like, not because of who he is, but when you think about when we went in this Wednesday night war for 74 weeks, we beat them every week except for one, and he's the one in 73-1. And I'm like, I can respect that, and the fact that instead of trying to they went and got him. That's a smart move. You know what I mean? As much as people want to say, "Oh, that's LeBron to South Beach," nah, bro. This is business.
And put this in perspective.
If they're trying to. I don't want to diss nobody. I don't even know what teams are sucky nowadays. I used to be real cut and dry, but it's like I got a chance to join the Lakers, or I could join, I don't know, like Pacers or something. I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? It's like
who's pretty accurate.
Who's really going to do something with me, and who's really going to put me in their starting five for me to give the ball and run with? They know what I'm capable of. Y'all want to slow like shave my head? Come on, man.
And let's put this in perspective. And I think like Vince likes to and I think like at a time where Zack Ryder was going to AEW, Vince didn't give a shit. But like we're now at a point where like if you really break it down, like AEW ended up getting the top person on the third brand of WWE, and it was a third brand that is on national TV. And the only reason they didn't get ratings is because people were watching AEW.
Mm-hmm.
Second. So now they get to just see him on AEW. So second, they got Daniel Bryan, who was in the WrestleMania main event.
I was going to bring that up twice.
Yeah. He is legit like a top guy on whichever
his last match in WWE was with the top guy.
Yeah. And then you bring the guy that everyone's wanted to come back for 7 years.
Yep.
And like this is all now on your roster, and they're all on your TV every week,
and they did this the same night,
bro.
Including all the guys that have been building up since then, and the fact that you might bring in a Bray Wyatt, you might like what's WWE doing? It's like they're self-sabotaging themselves.
Like it's almost like they feel like, oh, we're now we're the ones churning out talent to go over there. It's not the other way around. Like it's I've been questioning that too. I'm like, how'd y'all Adam Cole, Vince doesn't understand. Okay, right. It's not light, but it's like, okay, it's understandable because it's Vince. But it's like, y'all let Daniel Bryan walk out the door and go straight to your competition for real? Like, and mind you, they didn't book him into the ground on the way out like they normally would.
Yeah,
they booked him up high. Like you said, he left in the main event. He got stacked. He got smashed, stacked, and pinned. Got a T-shirt though.
And this is my thing too.
He's like, do I get any money off the likeness on that shirt, or what's going on?
Because like they couldn't predict the CM Punk thing to happen, right? And I think the Adam Cole thing kind of happened abruptly, right? So
CM Punk, they could have predicted, but they didn't care enough. They don't care enough to think that it's a problem. because the whole time with the Fox deal, they were trying to convince Fox not to hire him because he's quote, oh, he's bigger trouble than he's worth. It's like, bro, that was 7 years ago. Calm the fuck down. Like,
and I think that's what it is now. That's the turning of the tide, right? The fact that those three moved over there, and it's not like you said a Zack Ryder or a Perfect 10. That the people who
watch
are
it,
like, oh,
watch it.
Hey man, you know, like
watch it.
When we're talking about Adam Cole, when we're talking about Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson, we're talking mid card acts. But when you talk about a main event,
yeah, you're talking
like
top 5.
Shawn Spears,
top 5 dead or alive. Watch your mouth.
No, no.
Canada's God.
The game has changed. It's different now.
No, but you're right though. It's like, if I'm WWE, and I remember saying this that weekend of SummerSlam for the Rampage, like the fact that you don't think CM Punk coming over here is that big of a deal, y'all are highly asleep at the wheel with ridiculous amounts of scissor in your cup, bro. Like I don't understand. Like y'all,
correct me if I'm wrong. So you probably can't do anything about the Adam Cole situation. You already fucked that up. Right?
Yeah. You don't have right. That's it. It's you can't legally sign him. It's all on what he wants to do. Yeah, exactly.
So you fucked that up, and your meeting made it worse. Cool, because I think honestly, if they brought, maybe Triple H was going through a hard thing at the time, so maybe he wasn't there. But like, if you brought Triple H in and you brought the pizzazz and kind of sold him on like, you know what, we do think you could be a top star on the main roster, and you sold him, he might consider it because he was loyal enough to at least sign a 2-month extension. So like, if you sold it, you had at least been in consideration, right? But they fucked it up. So, and then Daniel Bryan, I honestly think he would have considered it too if they even allowed him to have a looser contract. Like, you bring Daniel Bryan in, but if Daniel Bryan wants to go to New Japan for 2 months, you let him do it, stuff like that. Like,
and be smart enough to find a way to co-promote for it.
Yeah,
still get that, you know what I mean? Get that exposure from it. Yeah.
Even if you don't get the exposure, but Daniel Bryan's like, hey, I want to take 3 or 4 months off a year to go to Japan and wrestle some guys I like.
Well, Jericho, that's what Jericho was doing, yeah.
And if you don't mind, like if that means I wrestle a couple of AEW guys over there because of the forbidden door, that's just the way it happens, Like, my thing is like, around the same time all this happened, and you're hearing the CM Punk news, you knew this was all gonna. You knew like you had about 30 to 40 days before all 3 of these guys are gonna basically debut for AEW. You still fucking released Bray Wyatt,
dude. and I was thinking, I'm like, and Fox, and not to get back to the networks, but Fox was really high on Bray Wyatt. Like they were even kind of like, what the fuck was this when they found out that they caught him. Because they wanted him on Fox. And I mean, they had him, but then I don't know, man. They got to get their head out their ass. Or I think they just got to, Vince has to, someone gives Vince something to eat so he's in a good mood. And then let's talk strategy because like.
Yeah, we've been talking for a long time, so I'm sorry. But like,
no,
Raw has been getting better, but we all know it's like, it probably won't last forever. And now NXT is a fucking garbage fire.
At least
like, we have nothing to look forward to long term.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, like, it's not gonna get better, and even if it does, we've already been way too conditioned to think that it's not going to get better. You know what I mean? Like, where we're gonna tune into it in and out. Like, we're not like I don't watch Raw as much as I used to. You know what I mean? Like the fact that, dude, I couldn't tell you the last time I just totally said. Not that I had to work and missed it and watched it later, but that I just decided, nah, I ain't gonna watch this pay-per-view. Yeah. I have opportunity to do so, but I just don't feel like it. Like I've never had that with WWE. Impact, different. You know what I mean? Because you can only watch them on certain things. But it's like, bro, like every Wednesday and Friday, I'm like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen tonight. Like I'm more excited for that. You know what I mean?
I give the Peacock $10 a month, and I'm like, I'm not gonna watch your shit.
Well, it's like when I think about it, I'm like, dude, I pay monthly, but I only download the app on my phone when I know there's an event, or if I know there's a Broken Skull sessions coming out. Like, but I'm not definitely taking advantage of the $10 like at all. Like, I just not enough stuff on there for me to care about anymore. Like, if so, I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole of old classic good shit that y'all don't even do anymore. You know what I mean? And then even as I'm gonna be mad because I'm gonna be reminded about how much, how shitty the product is now. So
I'm not gonna watch Mankind win a championship and then go, oh, I'm gonna tune in to Raw again this week.
Oh man,
You know?
man, I can't wait to see some captivating storylines, some consistency, and with logic laced in between.
Can't wait to
Oh
watch
wait,
Ricochet
oh wait,
versus Reggie.
oh god. Okay, so no lie, I was like, damn. So this is where Ricochet's falling. But I was like, well, they're both athletic. This might be kind of cool. And I was like, oh, this is not cool at all. I was like, this is not cool in the late. And I was like, wait a minute. Why is it when Ricochet is not in the 24/7 championship, he's wearing cargo pants, but then now when he feels like he's earned his gear back, he's in the 24/7 championship? I was like, you don't see that much ceiling for yourself, huh? Like I feel like he has to be next, right? He has to be like, I'm kind of cool on this.
Didn't he sign like a long-term deal like last year?
Possibly. I wouldn't doubt it. One thing I will say before we got here, because I know, like you said, I know we've been jaw jacking. It's been 2 weeks though, or 3 weeks.
Oh yeah.
I did read, or I should say, got a update on Johnny Gargano. His contract is done December 3rd. And
you got to think he's out. Like in my opinion, like it's not even about like, oh, all these people going to AW or Impact. I think for like legitimately, like if your contract is ending with the WWE, it's just in your best interest to leave. Like you can't switch, you can't do a lot of things. You know,
I think it's different on different situations. Like with him, he's done it all. What else can he do besides go to the main roster that he probably doesn't want to go to, right?
Yeah.
But when you think about it in kayfabe, he's done all he has to do as a father. You know what I mean? He married off his daughter. And then he got Austin Theory his first job in the main roster. What I mean, him and his wife about to have a new their first child as well. It's like
the only thing I can think of is Candace's deal, because maybe it's like, hey, I kind of want to stick around with my wife and like.
Yeah, well, I did hear that. I mean, if there's going to be maternity leave, it's kind of probably the same thing going on with Sami Zayn, because he had added time. Well, Jeff Hardy, same thing. Rey Mysterio, same thing. Anytime you get like a substantial injury, they add shit, they stack it at the end, and I'm like, all right, I get it. But yeah, with Johnny, I don't know what else there's left for him to do. I could see him taking time off to be a dad and then getting back to maybe AEW. But
I really want to see, because I think at this point in their career, what they could really bring to is DIY coming back in like AEW and adding to that tag division instead of them going in as solo guys.
I wouldn't mind if they try to bring DIY up as a tag team to the main roster and just let them do the tag thing.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
And just leave them alone. Don't fucking write for them. Like
that would give me pop. I would pop a little bit on Raw if like if it's when it's draft pick and you know they could take tag teams. If Raw goes, we'll take DIY, and Tommaso and Johnny are like, the fuck.
Yeah, true. Like he's like, dude, I have the world championship. What are you doing?
And then Johnny's like, I don't. Like, what the fuck? I don't tag team with you. You even bring him up.
It's time to do something else.
Yeah, so I don't know. We could come up thousands of ideas on how WWE could even just be slightly better, you know. But
just a little, just to make the ratings go up. But yeah, man. Long, lengthy episode. It's been a while. I love getting together with y'all, man. I mean, like I said, I had some things that we had to comment on, because I think we have a responsibility with great power, right? But I do want to thank you guys for always checking us out, man, and always just supporting what we do. You could do so. Follow us at Flow Wrestling Pod and Flow Wrestling Show, respectively, on both Instagram and Twitter. Always dropping something every Saturday, man, Sunday as well. Yeah, man. I mean, all I gotta say is follow us, follow myself, Quincy Jones Go, follow at Matt Lowe, and follow Brian _ or is it Brian Andrew _ Brian Andrew _ and of course,
even if you said it wrong, some people could just follow some other guy.
They're like, hey, some other Brian with an underscore is totally taking your life.
There's somebody else with the same name.
Probably, I don't know.
It's like,
oh my God.
It's like Andrew.
I'm gonna have you guys confused. I won't know who's who.
I don't know. We can't have two Brians,
especially if they're an overweight white guy with a beard, which is very common. You know?
I don't know. He's like
us craft beer whites out there. Like
he's like, fuck Cal Poly, it's Mount Sac for life. But no, make sure you follow the LA Clips Forum as well, man. The freaking season's starting up. First of all, just follow them based off the theme song alone. It's just it's so
we're 100% theme song.
No, but it's so choice. It's so choice. You know what I mean? But definitely miss y'all, man. Gonna be hopefully getting back together again next week. And yeah, until next time, man, it's been the Flow Show. We out.